Hello, everybody, and welcome to LCS 2026. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Hammy. I'm here with Carney, and we are here to broadcast across 5 different streams. We have the main stream and 4 side streams for all of our champion LAN teams here to crown a true winner across North America. How are you feeling today, Carney?
I'm feeling really good about this. I've been, like I was telling you earlier, I've literally been excited for this all week. 12 teams, 5 concurrent streams. We've got some absolute goats on the mic right now with us talking, Hammy, but also across all 5 different streams. A lot of, actually, if I remember correctly, every single commentator that we have live tonight was doing live commentary at a LAN that, that they represented for. Like, obviously I did stuff for New Ink LAN, and Hammy, you the Toronto King.
Yeah, I'm the only Canadian in the entire commentary team because I'm the only one they pulled from Toronto. I'm not even from Toronto. They just
You're not even from Toronto?
Yeah, I flew there because it's the only Canadian LCS lane we have. And yes, you're right. The only exception, I think some of the analyst desk people on the mainstream weren't at the LANs, but they're also very well-known, tenured people in the community who are there, who know how to do analysis. So, but either way, yes, we have, I think, if I can do math correctly, 21 commentators across all the streams, just for the commentators, not even analysis desk, just commentary, and they're all from the LANs. But either way, we have to watch these players actually play out their matches from these LANs, and for the first set on this broadcast, we have got Overseer from Chai Shoals versus We Aren't Practicing from Sea Battle.
So yeah, pretty too, as you can see on the map, pretty too far apart, teams going head to head for this round 1 that we're bringing to you live over here on SplatoonTourney 1. Now, taking a look at these team comps, we're seeing a lot of really familiar faces. I'm seeing Wings, I've seen Tenor, we've got Kronos over on the side of We Aren't Practicing from Sea Battle. We see the other brand, like you were saying earlier, brand 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part with some of these names. We have Bran here from We Are Practicing, but we also have Bran playing for the Big Dapple team, like the Starburst Bran. But it's same with we also think there's a couple storms in this tournament too. We've got some of the shorter names kind of piling up here. But regardless, yes, we have our teams here from Chai Shoals in Chicago and Sea Battle in Seattle. Duking it out, a little bit of an East versus West thing going on, which I feel like those are the more exciting matches when you have the physical distance between these teams, because a lot of people love to just play the West Coast versus East Coast kind of dynamic. And I know it's not really, I guess it's not really coastal, but they're close enough. I'm going to classify it. I don't know how American geography works. You guys know a place called the Midwest that's in the east part of the country, so you guys don't make any sense to me. So I'm just going to say this is an East versus West battle.
It kind of is. It kind of is. It's like from the west to the east, you've got the West Coast, you've got the West, the Midwest, and then the East Coast. There is no Mid-East. I'm so sorry to tell you this, but there's also the South and the Deep South and the Southwest. There's a lot of really, there's a lot of different regional areas in the United States that are all really distinct from each other, and it's really nice to see a lot of these representatives from all of these different regional areas, not counting the fact that we've got 2 for New England. Even though technically I don't feel like New York is a part of New England, but that's a whole other can of worms that I'm not going to get into right now.
I think you guys would benefit greatly from compasses. It just learning the cardinal directions. Just it doesn't have to be this complicated. I think that Canada's got it figured out. We just you got your East Coast, your West Coast, you got things in the middle. You just kind of call it inland. You don't really worry about that. But speaking of getting worried here, both of these teams, they're going to have their work cut out for them, because the winner of this match goes on to the next part of the bracket and will be playing what is likely going... Actually, yes, they're going to be playing Gravity, which is the Big Dapple team. Again, this is essentially a Milky Way pickup. this is a scary team. So right now, Overseer and We Aren't Practicing, this is the match where they have to lock in and get ready to try to make the greatest upset of their lives against Gravity later. So there's a lot on the line here in this first match.
And not only is there a lot on the line, just like for like hype wise and like the fact that Gravity is like our top seed, but I don't know if you guys know this, but Popgun is willing to pay for whoever takes a team off of Gravity. Popgun is willing to pay for their next LAN admission fee. So we've got not a monetary prize, but kind of funny to me that like everybody is rightfully so terrified of Gravity.
Yeah. There's a joke in here somewhere with Americans being scared of Gravity, but I don't really feel like fleshing it out. Now, I guess I'm assuming we're going to be getting into this match soon, hopefully, and surely that we're not going to be stuck with being delayed forever. But I want to look at some of these weapons that the teams are going to be running and what we might see, because the first thing I'm noticing is, again, we have Tenor and Kronos in this match. We're probably going to be seeing a tent versus tent match in this first round, which I'm excited for.
I'm ready for the tent v tent matchup here. And looking at some of these other weapons, we've got Bounce the Gal Warrior here, the 52 and the 96 Deco. Wings is as Wings does and is most likely going to be playing a bow of some kind. PETA here, Swordsman down here. We've got the Stamper, Sticker Stamper, Decav, V-Wiper. And then on the side of We Aren't Practicing, got the...
Oh. It looks like we're actually starting. You see, Carney got rage baited by our producer saying something in the background, but now we have a couple of these players ready to rage bait each other and see if they can come out clean in this first game. So we have our teams running in. Once again, we have Overseer in the turquoise. We've got We Aren't Practicing in the orange, ready to take mid here on zones in Barnacle and Dime.
We've got our first Barnacle of the LCS happening on this stream here. We do get a really nice pick onto PETA here, as we can see Tenor just really rocking that Dynamo Roller just straight into mid. Now, I do want to point out that we've got double Dynamos here facing off against each other. Both of these teams just doing a really good job of holding their space and making sure that the paint is in front of them. Now, we can see Bounce here and the rest of Overseer pushing forward, trying to get control of that zone, but it's still looking kind of rough.
Yeah, a bit of a scrappy opening here. We do have both sides skirmishing in the zone. The Kraken getting prevented by moving forward by the 10. Will actually pin 3 players in the corner. We'll get 3. The Kraken getting so much value. Bounce just, like, I thought the tent shit was going to prevent the Kraken doing anything, but Bounce turned that into a triple kill, forcing out a 4th person to make it an essential solo team wipe, putting the entire side of Overseer in a great position, getting a lead. PETA in a very annoying position that's going to just force a lot of eyes to that side. He's probably going to pop a booyah from this awkward angle. Yes, there it is. Just keeping We Aren't Practicing stuck in this corner. Wings the Jet. Carney, it's not looking great for We Aren't Practicing right now.
Yeah, no, we're going down to 30 ticks until that zone is Overseer's. Just holy Kraken Royale, that quad really did help Overseer just move forward into that really annoying spot right over by that death pit here. We can see them going into the teams. We Aren't Practicing has to move forward now in order to get control of that zone, and they cap it miraculously, but they do end up going 3 down. Overseer is in a really good spot for that lead, but they have a 60+ tick penalty to work through if they want to knock out this match. But if they keep playing like they've been playing, I feel like you don't really need to knock out at this point. We see here Bounce just doing a really good job of keeping the rest of We Aren't Practicing just away from the death pit and in their spawn, which is exactly where you want to be and where you want to push your enemy on Barnacle and Dime.
So here's the awkward spot. Actually, never mind. We're get the picks, and we're gonna maybe get the zone here for We Are Practicing, but opting to turn around and get the kills. They will finally get the zone. I was gonna say the hard part is they've given themselves the opportunity with the cap, but now they have to go back and actually get in. They managed to, but PETA just refuses to die in this corner, throwing a booyah from the spawn of We Are Practicing. Doesn't end up working in their favor. They will get traded out, and now the only player left alive in the team being Tenor, they will have to let the team regroup. They will drop some sodas for the team on their run-ins, but right now it is Overseer on the back foot for the first time in this game, and it's already 3 minutes in.
Absolutely. We can see here We Are Practicing is going to be really just nicely placed on that platform area against Overseer, but Overseer has specials out, and Wings is just being really aggressive with that inkjet, which is what you want to see here. And we can see that bounce alongside that Booyah Bomb easily caps that zone and prevents any further bleeding. Get a really nice pick onto Riki here, but unfortunately does end up going down. That Dynamo Roller just really holding solid, providing those needed jumps for the rest of We Aren't Practicing, and it's just basically no man's land in mid here.
Yeah, no man's land for... both sides just not able to break in, especially when you have Wings flying high above the sky, just preventing anyone from moving forward. Will dodge the Zuka, and the rest of the specials coming in from the side of We Are Practicing will help them get back into the zone, but not for long, as the constant pressure from Overseer is doing them wonders here. It's like you said earlier, they don't have to KO anymore. They have a comfortable enough lead that they can just skirmish this game and try to play from a distance, but not if you lose 3 players, leaving Wings the last one alive and giving a bit of room for We Are Practicing to get in here. They can KO this game. They can easily win this, but Overseer have to break back in. But here comes this Kraken from Bounce. We've seen how much damage it can do in the past, and it will help get the kill there in the corner. The Booyah coming in from PETA is going to help them fight, but another Booyah coming in from the other side from Bran is going to counter that. With the cap will go for Overseer. They will apply this penalty. There's not enough time for either team to KO here. It's going to come down to who can get the lead in these last 15 seconds, Carney.
And these last 15 seconds are turning out to be an absolute bloodbath, Hammy. 2 end up going down on Overseer as We Aren't Practicing ends up capping that zone really nicely. Kronos with that Trizuka looking to maybe try find a pick on Tenor. Does not end up doing so, but it's going into overtime now. 24 ticks left on the clock before we can start getting actual points in the game before We Aren't Practicing. But it's looking like Overseer just runs right in, caps the zone, and snags that bad boy right from underneath. We Aren't Practicing.
We Aren't Practicing could never just... They can never manage to put PETA on a leash. PETA always managed to run past that team and get behind them. And Overseer just let it happen. Overseer's like, hey, like, PETA, yeah, run free. Go, my Scarab. And consistently, PETA behind We Aren't Practicing, able to apply pressure, pull eyes, and in that overtime there, cap the zone. They weren't going for the kills. They stood as far back as possible and painted, and no one turned around. They didn't realize it. They thought maybe the paint was flying over their heads from Wings. They didn't notice that it was coming from their own half, and that gives Overseer that first win there in the overtime, and just a closer game than we expected. After the playing from Bounce early on, after the pressure they had, the specials, all of just the lockout, it was impressive for We Aren't Practicing to get back in and make that an overtime game.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It was just like, they got down to 6, and I was like, oh no, we're gonna knock out this game's gonna be over so quick. But We Aren't Practicing was like, hey, why don't we give you guys a 3 down, and then we can move in and just take the zone and hold it for as long as humanly possible. But like you said, I really feel like having PETA just move forward like completely wild and free as the lovely, they were the Splatana, the stickers stamper, correct?
Yes, I think it's what's called Six Stamper PETA, yeah. But we are getting to our second game already, not even giving us much time to discuss some of what we saw, but we are seeing, I think these are the same comps overall, no changes on either side. Again, we have this double Dynamo, which I didn't talk about last time, where I thought Tenor would maybe be on the tent, but instead giving us the double dynamo play, which is fair because we don't have a soda option on the side of Overseer otherwise, unless they were switching to the Claws Gal instead of the one with the Kraken. But the Kraken's been working pretty good in their favor, so I see the value here for Overseer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just having seen, like you said, what that Kraken can do during that last game, I feel like it's a reasonable assumption to be like, yeah, we should probably just run like the vanilla dynamo roller. We could see that Kraken in action. Bounce does get a really nice pick onto Chronos, looking like they're gonna try and run away here as they are being threatened from those triple ink strikes on all sides. We see Pita's Booyah Bomb just really deep into enemy territory in that Bats area. Like you said, Overseer doesn't need to keep Pita on a leash. Pita is just doing a really fine job of staying alive themselves and just being that absolute annoyance of a Stamper that you want to see from these plays.
Now, Overseer don't need to keep Pita on a leash, but I think that We Aren't Practicing here needs to put up a fence to keep Pita out, because constantly the pressure that Pita can get, like, Overseer is getting too much for free right here. The Krakens are getting a lot of value. Pita is able to walk in. Wings is able to use the backline bow just to apply pressure and then get a jet to walk in for free. We Aren't Practicing are just not able to keep Overseer from doing what they want to do, and it's showing. A minute and a half in, already pushed to 26 here on Tower Control Inkblot, and Overseer, even with a player down, they're backing up. They're not even really respecting the power of We Are Practicing here. They're just backing up to regroup for another push. Like they're chill here.
Yeah, but we just saw that Riki here puts out a really nice double kill on that Slosher, activating that flow aura. Chronos here on that tent, unfortunately, does end up going down, but Pita does end up going down to Riki's Splat Bomb, just like nobody's business here. Now, Wings on that Inkjet trying their best here to keep the rest of We Aren't Practicing out, but I don't think We Aren't Practicing is getting the memo here. We get another nice pick from that Slosher, and we're just moving forward. Chronos on that tower, just with that tent. It's a really nice pick onto Wings, and they're still holding on strong.
Yeah, a bit of a stagger being applied to Overseer in a bit of an awkward spot. They have the numbers now, but the tent shield is able to block the shots, and Kronos is able to do a little bit of dancing on the tower there to get the lead just barely. And Bran in the corner, making sure to get a couple more picks to buy the team more time to regroup, maybe even extend this push if they can just keep getting kills and surviving, forcing the last remaining player of Overseer to have to jump out into the essential team wipes. They're all back in the spawn. The Zukta is going to try to stagger this team out even more, and the pressure from We Are Practicing right now is just building up further and further. Overseer running out of time, not a lot of space left. You've less than 10 ticks where this KO comes through. You can't get Kronos off this tower in just the nick of time. Pita will get the kill, but they're down 3 players. It's a 1v1. Bran versus Tenor, and Bran will get the KO. Tenor unable to get the tower in time. We Are Practicing, turning that game around in the last half.
Woof, you hate to see it if you're Overseer. Just Kronos on that tower with that tent shield and the movement strats was just absolutely peak Splatoon tent umbrella gaming, because we saw the tent shield deployed in such a way where it was hitting up the side of the tower to where it wasn't falling off the tower, and Kronos could just duck in and out underneath the tower's like little patch of ink to just stay on the opposing side of that shield, while also firing out Trizukas that were basically hitting like a really decent amount of the time, alongside the forced stagger of Overseer. It just kind of was like a recipe for a knockout, and I'm glad that they managed to just like lock in that moment and move forward and just shoot, you know?
Yeah, that's a good like automatopoeia for what happened. It was just a swoop. But yeah, and that's why I was hoping for the tent v tent scenario when we first saw these rosters, because that's what the tent can do. It can apply so much. I was talking about how much that Overseer was gaining for free, but I didn't get to talk about how much Kronos gains for free for having a tent shield. No one on the side of Overseer was really able to shred it as effectively as you might want. Obviously, they do have a pretty strong comp playing against the tent, but it obviously wasn't enough. Kronos kept standing on the tower, putting up the tent shields, dodging the popsicles from Wings' bow, dodging just the flicks from Tenor's dynamo roller, and able to like make sure that PETA was only ever hitting the shield. And just it gave them enough time to not only get that lead the first time, but then the solo play from Bran kept that push going, and then let Kronos get back in tower, and then it's just a knockout. That tent shield there was pivotal for them winning that game. Obviously, the rest of the team putting in a lot of work too, but Overseer might have to go back to the drawing board a bit there because they have that pressure, they have that dominance. We saw it in both these games, but they need to keep that momentum going all the way to a KO because we've seen We Are Practicing comeback twice now in the first 2 games.
Yeah, and as we're moving into this next match here on Rainmaker, on Scorch Gorge, I'm not expecting to see a knockout unless we have some sort of miracle happen. But the tent could very well be the miracle that We Aren't Practicing is hoping for. Now, I do want to point out we've got a bit of a strange comp switch here, as we're going to be bringing out the Forge Pro, which is an interesting pick to say the least, but I understand what they're going for.
I'm gonna hit you with a crazy actually. Okay, never mind. So first of all, Wings, calm down. You don't need to get all those kills there. You're already doing good here. But I'm gonna hit you with the actually. They've had the Forge Pro every game. Yeah, Bran's been on that weapon the entire time. Yeah, Bran made a solo play in that Forge Pro in game 2 that I called out multiple times. The only difference here in this game is Kronos is on the vanilla tent now. They do have that back. Other than that, the weapons are the same here. But they're not going to use that back right now because it's Overseer who's on the offense trying to get through here. But they will go down a couple players. Wings opting to live. That jump might be a little bit risky, but actually Bran opting to drop down and go for Wings will get punished for it from the jump by PETA. And now, just like that, Overseer kind of back in a good position here. They have the pop. They have specials. Here comes the Jet. Will get one. The Vac will have to keep it away, but Wings is just going for a different target. You put out the Vac, it doesn't matter. Wings getting another one in the nick of time as that Jet ends, getting more points for Overseer, down to 27. This is reminiscent of the first 2 games, but does this mean that We Aren't Practicing is going to come back yet again?
I'm really hoping to see it, honestly, and Wings getting 2 inkjets in such quick succession. Like, I'm not saying that the name makes the person who plays the weapon, but you gotta really wonder if they've got a pair of feathery things on their back with the way they're moving with that inkjet there. We can see that Dynamo fight does end up with Tenor winning it. That Rainmaker is going to be in that neutral position. PETA doing a really good job of just cleaning up here on that ramp area with that Booyah Bomb. Comes in and the Booyah Bomb gets canceled. We Are Practicing said, nah, no Booyah Bombs here on this ramp today. Kronos with that ink back does end up getting a really nice splat onto Tenor, just trying to move forward and get picks onto Overseer in order to stagger them, which is a really good strat, especially on such a really tough to play map mode like this.
Now we've got the first points on the board for We Aren't Practicing, and there will be a checkpoint break as well. They do lose a player in the process, but the strikes may be enough to keep them in here unless the Kraken from Bounce, something to say about it. Bounce is getting you don't see picks on Kraken, especially at this level of players. You don't see people dying to Kraken. Kraken is a displacement special. The number of times that Bounce is actually hitting players is just, it's mind-boggling to me that we're not able to dodge these. And it's more than just pressure. But either way, now we have PETA with a Booyah from a safer distance this time, but it will get back yet again. But honestly, like, I don't hate forcing the Vac to come out a bit early, as long as we live. Overseer needs to make sure they don't get picked off here in this scramble that they've started themselves. They need to pull out those specials early so that they can get a push without We Aren't Practicing having any resources to push back here. But instead, Tenor are going to drop into this pit and opting to just play the stall game. Obviously not going to survive to the end of the game, but just playing for time, forcing We Aren't Practicing to make some mistakes, just like we saw there.
Yeah, and Tenor is still somehow alive with that Rainmaker, just doing a really good job of, like you said, playing the stall game, making sure that We Aren't Practicing just has a really tough time of grabbing that Rainmaker, but they did not jump down into that pit in time, which means that it's not going to be as tough for We Aren't Practicing in order to get that Rainmaker back underneath their control. They do end up pushing Wings and Tenor both towards that ramp area here. They've taken control of most of the paint in mid. Kronos looking to pop that Rainmaker, but the rest of their team are not active with them. So I'm not really sure that they're going to be able to just get any sort of, just any sort of like purchase or any sort of like advantage out of that, because Overseer has control of the Rainmaker once again. PETA dropping it right back into the pit.
Yeah, Rainmaker back in the pit, and this time, if PETA survives, that can be the game, but of course it's not going to happen. The entirety of We Aren't Practicing going to drop straight in there and going to pop this Rainmaker. This could be the last push right here with only 15 seconds left. If they don't die and re-pop quick, this is just the last grab of the game. The vac is ready. Kronos jumping back about 2 feet to regroup there and get out of the jet. But the Rainmaker rolled in, there's not enough time. I think that might just be it. Oh, actually, no, they popped Ricky just in the nick of time, grabbing that Rainmaker. The vac comes out early as can be because all the specials flying in to get the Rainmaker. PETA is once again on this flank, getting one long-range kill. The Kraken from Bounce coming in. The pressure from Overseer. They are making a scramble right now out of We Are Practicing. And I guess it's time for breakfast because eggs are ready.
You know, you said that you don't often see players killing with Kraken because it's a displacement special. I don't think Bounce got the memo. I don't think Bounce got the memo for that, because we've just seen them consistently kill with that Kraken again and again. They are the Trizuka player of Kraken Royale, if that makes any sort of sense to you.
No, I get that, because like I feel like the consistency at which Bounce is getting kills is like having a Zuka on your team. Like it does feel like it feels like they have a Zuka player. It feels like they've given Zuka to a Gal. Zuka doesn't have a Zuka, right? No, there's no Zuka Gal. That would suck. I would hate that. I shouldn't say that out loud and not give Nintendo ideas, because I know they watch all of my comm vlogs. They love me. That's like the headcanon I have, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with this. Speaking of not knowing where I'm going, what's the next map we're going to be seeing? We're going to see
Umami Ruins.
Yes, Clam Blitz Umami Ruins. This one, I've seen a lot of good Clam Blitz Umami recently. The last few times I've seen this match in tournament, I feel like they have been very close matches. Like we're seeing like game-winning pushes that are then getting beaten by another game-winning push. So I'm hoping to see more of that now. Obviously, if you are from the Seattle area or nearby, you really hope that We Are Practicing is the team that's going to be making those game-winning pushes, because they are on the ropes here. We're in a best-of-5, Overseer up 2-1. So Overseer, if they can take one more game, they're going to be representing Chicago in the next set of this tournament. So this could be the end of the set. We could go to the game 5, but Claims Umami is, I think this is an interesting one to play here for game 4.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, obviously I'm expecting to see the Kraken come back for this, but playing Kraken on this map is kind of precarious. There's a lot of really bad scenarios where you can, holy nozzle nose. Oh my God, Bran, what are you cooking?
It was on the weapon list. We never expected it. Again, we haven't seen any changes this set, and now finally Bran bringing out the nozzle nose. I want the jet specifically, maybe to try to counter the jets we've seen from Wings instead of this Forge Pro they've been on. Kronos also back on the Zuka variety of the tent instead of the back, which makes sense. It's a Rainmaker cheese. But other than that, same weapons on both sides for the most part. People are feeling pretty comfortable. Wings up in the air yet again, trying to get some picks, but we'll get caught out by the tent of the other side. But PETA once again is just kind of in there causing mayhem, but with no follow-up and not much of a plan to go with it. The Kraken a little bit too delayed. The two clams inside of Overseer are going to be held back just a little bit longer.
Kronos gets a really nice pick on that Trizuka to Wings, but cannot stop Tenor, who just tosses that power clam in and leaves to tell the tale. We can see that Bounce is trying to get that other power clam in, but was not quite close enough here. But the power clam does end up going in somehow. I think PETA snuck in from behind, as PETA tends to do, and just tossed that bad boy right in there. But now that Overseer is down on their luck with a delayed 3 down, it's looking like We Aren't Practicing is going to just easily toss a power clam into that basket, and they've probably got enough clams, and there's enough clams around the map to where they're going to be able to just get those clams in and hopefully get that lead, hopefully for them, and they do so with ease, dare I say.
Yeah, and now with 2 players down, they're going to back up. I'm sitting here, I'm trying to figure out what the producer version of Commentator's Curse is, watching Ellie try to mog them by zooming in on the missed power clam, but then it goes in immediately. But either way, we do have We Are Practicing now, again, with the lead, as you mentioned, with Jets coming in from both sides, just to apply some pressure, because right now, Overseer, they can't really break into their base here. We Are Practicing, for once in the set, being the team that has that early lead and has that early presence. But as I say that, the Commentator's Curse finally comes in. They go 3 down. Last player having to jump out. Nerd is not able to really accomplish much there. The clams are getting past Overseer. Players crossing over. Bounce with this Kraken is going to chase players away, utilizing the Booyah to really just push in. Basket will break. Couple clams go in. The lead switches with a power clam. A little bit of emphasis on that. And once again, Overseer back in the lead.
Yeah, really solid lead swap. That last minute power clam was just really the icing on the cake there. Bounce manages to bounce out of there, dare I say, regrouping with the rest of Overseer. Now 2 minutes left on the clock. The clam economy is in We Aren't Practicing's favor, though, and if they manage to get another couple of picks, a real push could start here soon. But Tenor somehow staying alive, but not before Kronos can just easily, with that 10th, sink that clam into the basket here. And did I just hear another power clam go in there as well? 2 down on either side. This could be the win. This could be the lead here, and it is the lead. We Aren't Practicing, pushing it back to their side, 30-35. Oh. Another power clam jumping in and getting the basket down to 10 points. There is only 4 clams remaining before the Sea Battle representatives take this game for themselves.
Like I've said, there's some things in the air recently that has been making Clams Umami interesting matches. 35 is a very winnable lead in a lot of clams matches, especially with teams that are this close in skill level. And then we have a 3 power clam push from We Aren't Practicing to get them down to 10 with a minute left here in the match. Like, it is, these teams are here to play. Like I said, this is their warm-up set before they play the #1 seed in this tournament, and they are all on fire right now. So we've got a minute left. Overseer, if they want to end this set here and now in game 4, they need to get past 10 points. That with the penalty, it's an effective 56. They need 46 points. That's more than 2 power claims. They got 3 in hand. That is enough to get them the KO. They can get these in, Carney.
Yeah, and they do manage to get a first power clam in there, but it's not looking like the rest of Overseer has enough members of their team over to that basket to get that second and third power clam in. That barrier is going to be back up, but Overseer is not done yet. We see Wings here just flying high in the sky as per usual on that Inkjet. Does not end up getting a pick, which is unfortunate. PETA here just easily shredding through Kronos' tent barrier. As we can see that Booyah Bomb moving up, we're going to look like we're going to throw it here in that mid area. Try to get some of We Aren't Practicing out of that.
The Kraken jump! The Kraken jump!
The Kraken jump!
Do the Kraken jump!
Oh,
Surely the Kraken jump!
Kraken
No!
jump.
Bound! We go too far! It's just
Oh,
the basket's open.
wait! They broke it!
Oh,
they
no.
broke it!
The scramble from Overseer at the end is not what they wanted. They're not able to get back to that clam. That overtime is going to happen. I thought we were going for the Kraken jump there.
Oh.
Bounce ends the Kraken too far away. Nobody jumps. They had enough power claims to end the game there and then. But instead, they tried for a good old-fashioned push the old-fashioned way, and just it didn't work out in their favor. They get the break, but they don't have the player count or the pressure to get in.
God, you really hate to see it, but you probably don't hate to see it if you're Seattle right now. If you're a Seattle fan and you're watching this and you see we just hit 2-2, which means we're going to a game 5, and whoever wins this game, whoever wins this set is going to be going forth in a glorious blaze of glory to face our #1 seed. So both of these teams have a lot on the line, and I feel like they're going to be playing to their heart's content here, because looking up next, it is Robo Ramen Zones, the tense playground.
I think this match feels like a good culmination for what we've seen in this set. As you said, Tent has a lot of free reign here to be annoying, but I feel like this is also like a map that like PETA is gonna have with this zone being up in this giant pedestal in the middle of the map. PETA has infinite places to pop up from in the background in the middle of nowhere, can go under, can climb up the walls. There's always opportunities to get in there. In the rest of the roster, Dynamos have a lot of ledges to play with here. I mean, I don't play Tri-Stringer, but I'm pretty sure Tri-Stringer has a pretty good time here. I like to imagine that all bows do, because I know Reflux does have a great time here. But I think just in general, looking at these rosters and just how these players want to play, I think this is going to be like the ultimate showdown of how these players have been performing in this set, and the culmination of what they've brought, what they've learned about each other in these last 4 matches to get to go on to the next round in winner's bracket here.
No, absolutely. Hard 100% agree with you, because like you said, these players have had 4 games to play around each other, figure out each other's strategies and how they work. And We Aren't Practicing did a really good job of that last set to just keep Overseer back enough to where they can get that really solid lead. Now, looking in here, it's not looking like we're going to see much of a change for Overseer, but we are going to be rerunning with that nozzle nose, with the inkjet, to just try and get some sort of use out of it here. And honestly, if any map mode is going to see use out of Inkjet, it is going to be this one, because of how wide open it is, especially in that middle area.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities for that jet. I think just in general, putting Bran on that nozzle nose did them wonders. Not to say the Forge Pro didn't work. The Forge Pro did a lot of work for them. In fact, again, with Bran being able to make some solo plays in there on the weapon and just apply general pressure. But that Inkjet has just been working for both of these teams. And so have these Krakens, once again, from Bounce coming in to get a pick. Looking for more blood as they finish. One player on the side of We Aren't Practicing stuck in an awkward spot in the bottom. Nerd on the Dynamo. Why is the Dynamo back here of all things? But everyone doesn't see it. Bounce, though, Sharking is waiting for Nerd to come back up, be halfway through a swing and not in danger's way. You got to respect the patience there, not running into a Dynamo before they flick, because you know it's going straight for your face.
Absolutely. Now, we see a really good Booyah Bomb from PETA, but Overseer does end up going 2 down in that moment, but they still have control of the zone. And as I say that, commentator's curse strikes me yet again with We Are Practicing. Just getting a really nice hold of that zone. Moving into that elbow, you see Kronos is exactly where they want to be on that tent, but unfortunately does end up going down to Bounce, and blood for the Kraken God is active here. We see Bounce get a really nice kill on a Kronos, 2 down on We Aren't Practicing, as Bran just tries to get a really good pick. Does get a pick onto PETA, but We Aren't Practicing ends up losing control in the process, going 3 down.
We just watched Kronos die to Bounce 3 times in a row in one spec cam. That is unfortunate. Now, Overseer are in control yet again. Wings pushed up here at the bow, able to apply a lot of pressure. Wings has been getting a lot of good hitboxes with those popsicles this game. We saw the interaction with the tent just previous in that last team fight. Now almost getting some directs here, applying some pressure. Look at Wings' position under and behind Ricky, trying to apply the pressure and jumping out and living to tell the tale. They will lose the zone off of a push from We Are Practicing, but just the confidence in the positioning from Overseer here is doing them wonders in this last match. Once again, PETA just on a side quest to the side, but getting support. That's the big thing. PETA can go anywhere on this map, and Wings is still there to support them. Like, that is what you need in your backliner. You need that person that no matter what kind of dumb stuff you're pulling, that you have that backline, you have that support, you have that go-ahead from your team to, like, yes, fly through.
The only person on Overseer who has PETA on a leash is Wings, and it's doing a really good job of just keeping their team up and active here. They're still in control of the zone. That Trizuka coming out from Kronos, looking like they're going to try and maybe paint the zone with it. They've got that tent out and pushing forward into that zone, looking like we're going to try and ink it towards that neutral area, but Overseer once again in control of that zone. We see a battle of the ink jets from Bran and Wings, as we can see that Booyah Bomb being ready to be thrown just right at that pillar, which is an
What?
interesting spot, but it does get a really nice pick onto Nerd. I don't even know where Nerd was in that area.
I think the plan there was to kill whoever was on the elbow. I respect it. I didn't know someone was there. The fact that Peter clocked that somebody was on elbow, I didn't even know that anyone was in that position. And especially getting it onto the Dynamo player is going to shut down that soda option. To shut down that taint is huge. As much as it didn't work out for Overseer, the PETA will get 2 to make this play work out. 3 down. It's just 1 player in the Jet. It's target practice for a sword, as now with a minute 10 left, a wipeout for Overseer. PETA is just getting these long-range kills. Swords are melee weapons. Why did Nintendo make this a long-range weapon? I will never not complain about this. Overseer looking to KO here, Carney.
Yeah, they are in that really nice KO position here as we're moving forward. Bounce yet again, getting some blood spilled in that delicious pink color. Does get a really nice pick onto all 3 of the members that we are practicing that were down in that area. And that is just tap dancing on their grave at that point, because in a really decisive victory, Overseer knocks out We Aren't Practicing to move forward and face off against our #1 seed in their next match.
Yeah, that's a huge win for Overseer. Again, I think, like you mentioned before, this match kind of being a map that's the culmination of what they've been doing. We saw everything. We saw the flanks from PETA and like the accuracy. We saw Bounce with a lot of Kraken kills. Again, I'm not sure why these keep getting through. I'm excited for the next set, just see if we see any Kraken kills. If these Kraken kills come through in the next team, I'll be surprised. But and seeing again just Wings being able to support both Bounce and PETA, who keep just beelining in and constantly just causing havoc. And of course, you know, Tenner's in the spot we can't talk about a lot, because you're putting down the paint, you're putting down the sodas. You are like, the reason that Tenner's not in the spotlight is because everyone is scared to go in any place a Dynamo will kill you. If you go in a place a Dynamo will kill you, you're just dead. You at least have a chance to not die to Gal RNG. You're gonna die to Dynamo. So like, just you lock down the fort when you have the Dynamo in the corner.
Listen, Dynamo mains are definitely something to be scared of. Like, especially Tenor. I am like terrified of ever going up against Tenor, because I know that me as like a little V Dualies main has no chance at all against that guy. But man, what a really amazing set. Going to game 5 for our first set commentating, Hammy, is something that I truly love, because that just means that we get to spend more time with each other. We get to yap for longer about these teams and players that we just truly know and love. And speaking of teams, let us check out the next lineup for our quarterfinals here.
Yes, next up, we got Barbecue Pork Jambalaya from H-Town Splashdown Houston and Shark from Booyah Bay in San Jose. This is another, okay, does Texas count as East or West? It's like in the middle, basically. I don't know American geography here. Is this, what do they count as?
South. Texas is south.
So you guys do have compasses. You guys do know what other directions are. So either way, yeah, these, like, okay, so H-Town Splashdown, they're one of the loudest LANs. They're the people that they talk the most in social media. They've got a huge crowd. Like, they have a lot of aura they've been trying to build up. Booyah Bay, I feel like Booyah Bay is a lot of talk, but like, I feel like they're not as loud. They're a bit more humble here. And so we're gonna kind of see how this dynamic plays into here. But yet again, yes, both of these teams getting to round 2 of winners bracket. I want to see how they did in set 1. Shark did 3-2 synchronize, and if I can find here where we're at, actually no, I think this, yeah, right, Barbecue Pork Jambalaya, they had a bye because they were one of the higher seeds. So Shark coming in off of a close game 5, now going against a much higher seeded opponent. Be an interesting dynamic here.
Yeah, and it's really funny to me that the Cali team is going to be playing up against the Texas team here, because like those are like the two like head-to-head like really big rivals, I feel like. Just like as a regional difference thing, it's always like the like, you know, California versus like Texas sort of thing, because it's like two of the biggest states, two of, like you said, the loudest personalities here. The SoCal being a little bit more humble, while Houston is loud and proud, and honestly love that for them. I've got family down there, so I understand the loud and proud Houston, Texas type vibe that y'all are putting on here. And I'm just really excited to see, because if I do remember correctly, Barbecue Pork is our 2nd seed, so Shark's gonna have a little bit of a time here.
Yes, Barbecue Pork Jambalaya being the 2nd seed, again having a bye in round 1, and we're getting into the first match of this set. We're on Mako Mart Splat Zones. Both our teams rolling in here. Barbecue Pork Jambalaya in the yellow, Shark in the purple. Already Goose on the side of Shark trying to push in, but getting out blastered by the blaster himself. Len is going to give the team a numbers advantage, pushing up into here, and already with our H-Town team taking an early lead.
Yeah, Barbecue Pork just really doing good on those stacks, making sure that they are keeping them clear of any sharks just in that area. We can see that Pika here on that side with that mini, the Zimmy, in fact, with the just doing a really good job of just being annoying. That is what you want a Zimmy to do, is to not only be like a really good anchor, but to also just annoy the ever-living hell out of the other team. They were doing a really good job of that. Now, we can see that Shark just moves forward into that zone after that 2 down off of Barbecue Pork, takes it over really nicely, but we see those sippies come out, and it's looking like the ink is flying more towards that green color.
Yeah, and once again, they haven't capped yet. There it is. They do get the cap, start whittling through this penalty. And again, applying this pressure. Pika already up on this left side, looking to ledge camp here. Usually you'd think the bucket would be doing it, but no, they have the Zimmy there in that position. Len getting this right side will get picked off by 2 players of Shark, who are now going to push into their own stack, try to get some pressure. Swagger has this Zuka ready. Goose is a little bit low on health, but has the support from the team. The players will go down. The strikes coming in from the side of Barbecue Pork Jambalaya will push them back and get through their penalty now, getting some more points on the board as the rest of Shark tries to break in, but haven't made it just quite.
I wouldn't count them out yet, though. They do manage to get control of that zone and giving Barbecue Pork a 46-tick penalty to their name. Jen gets a really good pick onto Pika there with that pencil, and Shark is just putting that ink down like nobody's business. Now, I want to point out, that is not a traditional pencil on the screen there, folks. We have the Ink Storm active moving across that zone, which is going to be really good considering we've got that zap to provide that Sippy's coverage for Shark. Now, Barbecue Pork is going to be taking control of that zone yet again. Pika just moving forward, like I said, being that really annoying Zimmy that you'll know and love to see if you're on the side of Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. Maybe not so much if you're on the side of Shark here. So we can see they've just basically not moved from that one specific area under box, keeping the rest of Shark out of mid for as long as humanly possible is the name of the game.
Yeah, and with only 20 ticks left, the game might not even last that much longer unless Shark can cap right there like they do. We keep seeing a lot of... Goose keeps taking these 1v1s against Len, trying to like prove their name as a strong blaster player, as Len is known far and wide for being the blaster guy. At least in my mind, that's what Len is. But either way, we have Barbecue Pork Jambalaya pushing up. Pika has just been relentless on this left side, trying to just sneak in. There's always 3 players to Shark. They're ready to keep them back, but they're just going to keep applying that pressure over and over again until eventually they move too far to the right, and then it's just all over. Miner as well on the left side, getting a nice pick on 5th gen over the corner. Splashdown from Goose will pick off Len. Right now, Shark they've lost 2 players. They do have players in the zone, but can't outpaint just quite yet. Goose, the last one alive, is going to keep fighting on this side, getting kind of reminiscent from the first game with Pita's gameplay, but Barbecue Pork Jambalaya are on top of it. They're aware of it. They're going to shut it down, and they're going to cap this zone and win this first game.
Yeah, really solid showing from Barbecue Pork Jambalaya here. Just as our 2nd seed, I expected this, but I'm really glad that Shark managed to just knock them down a couple of pegs here in that first match. We saw them just really not consistently take control of that zone over and over again, but they took control of the zone enough for it to matter. Sorry, I got rid of my hat, just letting you guys know so you're not going crazy because my hat was irritating my glasses. It was making my head really itchy. We're gonna take a look at the next map mode here on our list. Let's take a look-see here. Boo, 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 boo. Rainmaker, Undertow, Spillway.
Yes, Rainmaker and Undertow, a tried and true map combination. It's the like in my mind, like the most bearable of the Rainmakers, at least one of. But yes, this is one that these players are definitely going to be very familiar with. I think it'll be interesting to see how we're going to kind of push this again. I'm wondering if we're going to see any weapon switch ups. Thing is my main question, because there's nothing in other teams that really screams like this is a Rainmaker cheese option. But I guess we're gonna get to see because we're loading in. I don't even have to do any theory. I don't even have to do my job as a commentator and think. I just gotta talk, as we are seeing some switch ups here in both sides. Actually, interesting stuff. We have the vanilla 96 for the vac option on the side of Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. We also have the Rapid Pro and a tent on the side of Shark. So lots of interesting weapons here.
Yeah, the Rapid Pro Deco is a really interesting pick for Shark here. Alongside that tent, I'm expecting to see some really funny blaster gameplay. Miner gets really deep in here, gets a really good pick on LZ, but our H-Town Splashdown champions just really moving that Rainmaker forward directly onto that left podium, as one is wont to do. Not able to grab it just yet. They do manage to get it close enough to the podium for it to almost be a checkpoint breaker, but Shark decided that it was time for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya's just absolute insane push to end then and there, and it's looking like they're gonna try and perform the same sort of move. Swagger gets a really good pick onto Len there. That is definitely going to help Shark move forward into that checkpoint position, and they do manage to break through.
Yes, a bit of a vac fight there, but the vac from Shark will last just a bit longer and get them that checkpoint and a bit of more points in the lead there, really forcing the issue to make sure they can get as many points as possible. 38, that's a respectable amount of points. Obviously, on a map like Undertow, you're going to see some bigger pushes, especially from players of the caliber of Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. So right now, Shark need to ensure that their defense is flawless. They cannot have any cracks, any holes, any crevices for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya to break through here. And ideally, they get another push and extend that lead, but for now, defense is the name of the game.
Yeah, defense is the name of the game just for this map mode specifically, because you can get so many points going through that little, now thankfully paintable corridor right after left to check here. Goose does end up going down with that ink vac still online, which is unfortunate, but we can see here Barbecue Pork Jambalaya does end up breaking through that checkpoint, and it's looking like they're gonna try and move it just a little bit further, but Swagger's got something to say about that as the rest of Shark pushes Barbecue Pork out of that checkpoint area. Pika just really going for trying to survive, does not end up doing so.
But Pika doesn't survive there, but Pika held back all 4 players of Shark, giving time for the rest of Barbecue Pork Jambalaya to regroup and get back in here on their own half. They have the strikes coming in. They're going for the pop here. Pika still having the aura from the previous life that they led, and now with a vac almost ready, they're going to have a good option to push here if they so desire. Shark having 2 players on this right side and 1 down. This might just let Barbecue Pork Jambalaya push in this left side, as they are. Miner getting a couple picks, but has no backup, will eventually fall down to Swagger. Shark able to hold that out because Barbecue Pork Jambalaya had an opportunity there to kind of sweep in that left side and push through right, but there was a bit of a disconnect there, which gave Shark enough time to regroup and recompose, giving them mid-back and keeping this lead as we're now in the last half of this game.
Yeah, last half of this game already, and honestly, just really explosive plays from both of these teams here. Now we can see that we still have Shark in the lead, as we can see that Barbecue Pork Jambalaya is just really trying to push that into that mid area to grab that Rainmaker and move it as far forward as they possibly can. But Parachu just on a really bad spot does end up having to back off into that spawn area via Sponge. Goose here on that tent, just really trying to push forward into that left side, not really able to do much, but Miner and Jen just having having a little dance here does end up going down. We see those sippies come out from Shark, and like he said, the defense here is super solid. They really just got to hold it for this last minute and not let the rest of Barbecue Pork Jambalaya take that Rainmaker from them.
And now with a minute left, Barbecue Pork Jambalaya have to grab that Rainmaker and get it all the way past 38 if they want to take game 2 in this. So right now, Shark doing a great position to just they're countering all these vacs by backing. Wait, what? That shot landed. How did that get sucked up? It hit the ground. Somebody call the ref. That's either way. 30 seconds left. Shark still on the defense here, but Parachute with the Rainmaker in a bubble and giving jumps is going to apply a lot of pressure. We're losing one player inside of Shark, but only one down so far. Right now, we're getting the push in from 5th Gen, who's playing to try to get these picks on the Rapid Blaster. Why is 5th Gen the one going in this position? Where is the rest of Shark? They might lose the lead here. 10 seconds left, only a couple points away. That's not a lot of steps between 60 to 38, but they will go down. Not enough time to repop it. It's just minor, and that will be the victory for Shark there.
Not only a victory, but a last-second wipeout on Barbecue Pork Jambalaya, just to really rub in that victory there. And like you were saying the whole time, the name of this game was just keeping that defense active. I'm not really sure what Jen was doing with that Lapid Pro, just really skirmishing around the rest of Barbecue Pork as the Rapid Pro. But like, I'm honestly just, I'm here for it. I'm here for insane I'm here for insane Lapid Pro plays. But I'm really wondering. Go ahead.
I got confused because like I've seen 5th Gen a fair bit. I mean, 5th Gen's on Octopi and Catnip. Like they've been around and like and around in a lot of scenarios where I've had to play against them and get stomped. And like I've seen 5th Gen play a lot of frontline weapons like dualies and shooters. And so when I see 5th Gen going for a last second flank, I'm like, this makes sense. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that's a Rapid Pro. What are we doing here? Is there nobody else on Shark who could have possibly been the one to do this? I guess we can't complain because it worked. It was enough of a distraction. It pulled one of the players of Barbecue Pork Jambalaya away into an awkward fight where they just couldn't hit their shots, leaving Parachute on that Rainmaker alone. And even though that wasn't the play that got them killed, it stalled enough time for Shark to regroup, recompose, and actually defend the portion of the map that the lead would have changed over.
Yeah, no, and I'm really excited to see if we're gonna see any comp switches here on either of these teams for our Museum d'Alfonsino Clan Blitz match, and things are looking pretty solid here.
Yeah, we are bringing back the same 2 weapons on the side of Shark. They're keeping their VAC-10, they're keeping their Rapid Pro. It works for Clan Blitz. I see the vision. I'm sure it wasn't just them going, oh, right, we've got to switch weapons. Oops, my bad, and ran out of time. But realistically, yeah, like these are good weapons for clams, especially on a map like Museum where you're kind of funneled, whether like in your options to really take here. But Shark keeping the momentum from last game, getting 3 picks, getting a back out, and getting the break in 30 seconds in this game. They're on a roll here. They're continuing. They're trying to say that the seeds don't matter. We're not scared of this Houston team. They may be the number 2 seed in this set, but in this tournament, but we are here to win and carry on through in this winner's bracket.
Honestly, classic Californian behavior. like this just I'm really happy that we have these teams here just really skirmishing just so heavily on these past couple of games, and even now just skirmishing really heavily on this match. And oh my goodness, double bubble trouble with a double from 5th Gen. Just what an insane play, just getting that really nice double onto Barbecue Pork. But it's just really looking like they're gonna have to build that clam on that ramp and then push it in just right there, unless they can jump that power clam on Parachute or jump it over Spinner in there. And it's just really looking like they're going down one after the other, with Swagger getting Flow Aura again as the end zap is crazy.
Yeah, and right now we're seeing really strong defense coming in from the side of Shark. They're able just they're able to get the picks, even if they're going down. Like, we're usually trading out at worst, and at best we're getting some of these picks again. We saw the double there from 5th Gen, and just after it, we saw this double from Swagger. So they're able to just keep away Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. The problem is that they can't get rid of them. They've been applying this pressure now for about a minute. They're gonna keep building these specials and keep just chipping away at the entrance until finally they break their way in. So right now, Shark need to find a way to actually get rid of the orange team here, because they're pushing in through this flat. Goose is trying to use his tent shield to fight, but right now it's a bit of a scramble. The team's losing. There's a bubble behind them. Goose just in a very awkward position. Parachu waiting for the perfect time to just stroll on in and break open this basket. And we might see a potential lead swap here, because they have the players here. They have the pressure, and I know they definitely have the skill.
And now the question remains, are they gonna have the clams to do so? Because while they do have that pity back in base, they just lost their other power clam in play, and they are losing teammate after teammate here, just pushing. Shark is just absolutely pushing them just out of that ramp area, keeping that super solid defense up and active that we saw from that last game. Now, Goose just really deep into that mid area, not looking good because they're separated from the rest of their team here. 3 going down on Shark. It is now, once again, Barbecue Pork Jambalaya's turn to move forward and try and get those clams into that basket. And with that bubble active on the spinner and the sippies going, it's looking like it's going to be now or never. But not if that whale has anything to say about it, because it pushed Parachu all the way back, and Goose has that back going.
Yeah, Barbecue Pork Jambalaya getting pushed out there. You said it's now or never, and it wasn't now. But hopefully, if you're a fan of this Texas team here, you hope that never also doesn't happen, and they do get another push here in this last minute of the game. Again, 2 power clams will be a lead. That is not an unrealistic push to get there, especially just as an overtime push. With a team with a vac and 2... Oh, no, they don't have a vac, sorry. They have two bubbles. I forgot they have the double bubble now. But either way, with 45 seconds left, they have one of those bubbles out. They have 2 power clams right near the basket. They're so close. They will throw in one of them. The other one, Parachu, opting to back up and play it a bit safer, not willing to throw their life away just to get that clam in, or at least not then. They'll try it now, but the Zuka will get the pick. The power clam will, the wipeout will happen. The basket will close. They have 2 power clams. They have enough for lead. They just no basket to be broken right now because it's not open yet. The vac coming out from the side of Shark will push them away. That is such unfortunate timing. They do break the basket, but the double from Goose will keep them away. They will get wiped out without getting the last clam in. Cardi, Shark managing to hold that out somehow. The fact that the reason that Barbecue Pork Jambalaya lose is because the basket wouldn't open fast enough is insane.
The basket wouldn't open itself fast enough for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya to get those 2 power clams in, to just get the lead swap on themselves was absolutely insane behavior. But what's even more insane is the fact that Shark just managed to wipe them out in the last possible second with a really solid, I believe it was a double from the Ink Vac, to just get rid of both of those, getting rid of 2 power clams with 1 Ink Vac, as one would say.
It was a very poetic ending for Shark. Again, just the Barbecue Pork Jambalaya having all 4 players under basket after a wipeout with 2 power clams, just having to stand there and twiddle their thumbs and pray that the basket would come down, and then getting in there again, having the vac, all 4, because they got a wipeout, so all 4 of them respawn at the same time, rush in, they have the vac. Goose again getting the double on the vac definitely added a lot of value there, on top of the vac pushing the whole team of Barbecue Pork Jambalaya away. Shark, to the surprise of probably a lot of people, up in this set, being the lower seed, but they are 2-1 in this best of 5, looking to maybe end it here on Tower Hagglefish Market.
Yeah, and Tower Hagglefish is one of those classic tournament map modes. I feel like you can just, a lot of these teams have probably played on this specific map mode combination more times than they could care to count. It's like the classic Splatoon 3 like map mode combo, in my honest opinion. That and Haggle zones, I feel like, are the two that I see the most often nowadays. But I feel like, just kind of like I said, everybody knows how to play Haggle Fish Market. I'm just really wanting to see how these two teams play around each other on Haggle Fish Market, because we saw that so far Shark has a super rock solid defense. Like, they did let some of the members of Barbecue Pork in during that last game, but the clam basket was working against them and they were able to just clear them out of their spawn area. And we can see, looking in now, we have both of these teams just moving forward into that mid area, looking like Miner's gonna maybe try and go for a really early tower push, but 5th Gen and LAN just having a blaster battle here, either or, just really not getting any hits on each other.
Now, somehow out of this, we have Barbecue Pork Jambalaya being down 3. So off screen from that scramble, we lost a couple players there, with Shark getting a good lead here in the opening. Goose on 1 HP will have the vac backing into the bubble from Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. Getting already through this first checkpoint fairly confidently. This momentum from Shark has just been out of nowhere, just getting stronger and stronger as the set has been going on. Not even a minute in, already halfway through the point total. And we have a tent on tower. We saw from the first set that we saw previously how much damage that can do to a team.
Yeah, and we are going to be running with that bubble, with the bubbles yet again here. Pika running that Zimmy as they have been doing these past couple of sets. The double bubble trouble is back up and running, and it's especially good for tower control on this map, especially towards that first checkpoint area. We see those triple ink strikes are going to be thrown out. Goose with that ink that gets a really nice direct shot onto Pika as Shark moves forward with that tower. 5th Gen just gets a really solid pick yet again, just schmoovin' on that tower, but has to jump off because of the toxic mist.
Yeah, and Pika rushing down 5th Gen, trying to get rid of this backline and start a stagger going on to Shark to give Barbecue Pork Jambalaya a way back into this match, but not able to get the pick, but will push them away, giving a bit of map control to our team in blue here. But Goose now pulling some eyes to that side, will have to jump out. Barbecue Pork Jambalaya looking for their first checkpoint of the game, nearly halfway through. They have a bubble coming in from LAN on the side to just keep some space away from this tower. Make sure that Shark can't reach this tower, but it doesn't matter. Swagger runs in, but will get picked up by Parachu just in the nick of time. The vac shot will do nothing. A delayed wipe, and now Barbecue Pork Jambalaya looking for a lead here.
Yeah, and they actually are going to maybe get that lead as Pika pops that bubble onto that tower, as one tends to do. We're moving past that second checkpoint here. 2 down, but those triple ink strikes are out and active, but the suction bomb the suction bomb madness over here from Shark means that Barbecue Pork is just going to have a really hard time getting back onto that tower, and unfortunately they are pushed all the way back into mid, which means that Shark now has the chance to get that tower back under their control and try for their lead swap here. But I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing a Game 5. We just saw Flow Aura activate for 5th Gen, but does end up going down, which is unfortunate. We see Miner here trying for that left flank. It's a really nice pick onto Lunazuka. Gets a really nice other pick onto Swagger before going down, and Barbecue Pork is just looking like they're gonna try and end it here.
Yeah, they're really putting in the reps here, making sure that they're getting these picks. They're trying to remind us that they're the second seed for a reason. And again, in that last push, they actually utilized their 2 bubbles to their benefit. We haven't seen a lot of the pressure that a double bubble comp can bring. And Len here trying to wipe out the rest of the team in the whole squad coming in to make sure that happens. The tower will start getting moved. 1:10 left. They're pushing up pretty aggressively here. We're going to see Shark break back out and get another push. They want to win this game, but they have to get through these bubbles. These bubbles are creating so much space for the H-Town team here. Len jumping back, regrouping, grabbing some sippies, and right now Shark they need some kind of answer to get out of here.
Yeah, we see that Goose here with that ink back does not really end up getting any sort of use out of it, but Miner's still behind them, or was behind them for a really solid second there. So we can see the rest of Shark moving forward, just trying to get control of that tower in the last 30 seconds of the game. They have got to push it for at least a little bit longer here if they want to just take the set for themselves. Pika gets a really nice pick onto Swagger, and the rest of Shark are just really kind of staggering in that left side area on the side of mid. There's less than 10 seconds left on the clock. They've got to tap that tower and start moving it forward now if they want to get that back under their control. But Pika coming from behind, looking like they're gonna tap that tower, and unfortunately that does mean that Barbecue Pork Jambalaya is going to be taking this set to a tie. We are going to yet another Game 5.
This is the Splatoon content we like to see. Another Game 5 coming our way. This time, though, not two teams that are close in seed, but rather one of the lower seeds of the event and one of the higher seeds duking it out here in winners' quarters. Love to see it. Now, I'm curious here. So, we saw Shark switch to the Rapid Pro and the Vanilla Tent for Game 2 for Rainmaker Undertow, and they stuck with it for Clams, and they stuck with it for Tower. I'm curious why we don't have the Zuka tent coming in from Goose, because the Vax have kind of worked, but I think a Zuka would do them wonders. And I haven't seen any beacons. I haven't seen any beacons at all. I think the mine's going to work them some wonders there. But I'm curious to see if we're going to see another swap here. Does Shark make another switch to say, okay, we lost another game, let's readjust again? Or are they going to stick with this comp that they've been running? Because it's not a traditional comp. I do really like it, but there's some holes that Barbecue Pork Jambalaya have finally been able to poke through and win that fourth game.
And for our fifth game, we're going to be going on to my personal favorite map mode of all time. It is the great, the GOAT Mahi Mahi Resort on Splat Zones. So, interesting architecture and geometry to work with here for both of these teams. I'm saying we should get I'm just saying we should get a comp swap here. Specifically looking at that Zuka tent, because I did see a couple of beacons in that last match, but they were placed kind of in a strange position up towards the front of the glass area, and it's looking like we're gonna continue with what we've been going with. Goose sticking onto that vac like their life depends on it here.
Yeah, we will keep the vac, but we will drop a bubble on the side of Barbecue Pork Jambalaya, opting for the Vanilla Mini from Pika, getting that hammer and burst bomb option, which I think will give a lot of aggressive pressure for them. I don't think there's much that the double bubble would gain them value here in this match. We have a couple players dropping down in this mid-fight, 3 going down into the Shark. Lunazuka, the last one alive, in a bit of an awkward scramble, having Len and Miner just run straight at them and just kind of just speed right through them. We have the Zuka coming in, getting the double from Swagger. Will maybe give some space for Shark here, unless they do lose a bit of numbers, but they prevented the specials from the side of Barbecue Pork Jambalaya for a little bit here, but now once again they've capped. No penalty applied for Shark, even with those picks. Len Sharking here, waiting for a perfect opportunity to pick up some of these players, but with the water level changing, the team's looking to walk in here, Carney.
Yeah, lots more inkable areas. We see Len, just like you said, the absolute blaster go, getting a triple and then having Flow Aura activate before losing a trade here. Dare I say, because they do end up going down with Flow Aura. But Barbecue Pork Jambalaya is still solidly in the lead. We're going down to the teams here, and with that, Shark does end up getting the zone in their control, giving Barbecue Pork Jambalaya a 63 tick penalty to their name, which means that they do have the chance to move this back into their favor here. Shark does, at least, and as we are going forward, those triple ink strikes do end up capping the zone, but Swagger has the Zuka at the ready to maybe get some picks on the remaining members of Barbecue Pork.
Yeah, right now some picks would do great for them because you want to start that stagger. You don't want to let Barbecue Pork Jambalaya get their specials, get in a good position, and all walk in together. You need to catch them as players out. And speaking of players getting caught out, we do lose one player on the side of Shark. Unfortunately, Swagger does DC, and we're definitely at a point where I think we can play it out like with that scoreline with this tie. We keep going. But hey, pulling up the slack is Lunazuka getting a triple onto Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. They will go down with one of their teammates who's leaving Goose by themselves to deal with all of these respawns. The soda coming in for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. This may be it. They almost got to a lead, but they couldn't get quite there. It's a very close game, but with those penalties and with the player down, I like to believe, but I'm losing a bit of hope here for Shark.
Yeah, and just with that really unfortunate timing for that disconnect, the 3v4 is what it's going to be for the rest of this match here. Shark has got to be playing double time to make up for that extra teammate that they lost here. But Barbecue Pork Jambalaya just straight up does not care. They are in it to win it here. Moving forward, Goose is going to be popping that 8-back, getting a really nice control, but Goose is left by themselves. Does get another really nice pick before they do end up going down. Now 5th Gen just on that blaster, playing it safe, playing it cool. They've got to keep that zone at least under their control for just a little bit longer, but like you said, the hope is slowly but surely being sucked out of me.
Yeah, the back in the corner will not be able to get them anything with no backup. Again, they keep applying this penalty, keeping themselves in this game, but Barbecue Pork Jambalaya, they're not going to go easy on Shark because they have the DC. They're going to confirm their spot in this next round of Winners Bracket. They're here to win. They're the seed number 2. They're playing for the trophy. And with 10 ticks left, that just might be it. Shark have one last attempt to run in. Lunazuka and 5th Gen on their right side will get wiped out. That's the game. But man,
Oof.
that even with the DC, the fact that we saw the DC come out and then watched Lunazuka get a triple, and then they almost took the lead. They got to 24 points. It still wouldn't have been enough because it was a KO, but they could have got that lead there. They had a valiant effort despite losing a player, and it was still a close one.
No, absolutely. And like you said, a valiant effort in really well thought out games for both of these teams. Just super solid job of keeping Barbecue Pork Jambalaya as back as they could have. Shark really just showing that, like you said, seeding isn't everything. It's not. And you know what else is not? You know what else is not, Hammy? I'm doing a thing.
What else is not?
Us anymore, because it's time for us to swap out.
No, you can't. They're gonna have to drag me away from this broadcast. I'm not ready to go yet, but unfortunately we have to. That's the sad life of a commentator. My life was so hard.
Yep.
I just want to talk about Splatoon more, but unfortunately I can't, because instead you guys are going to have to listen to the next block of commentators on this broadcast. Again, 5 broadcasts of LCS here on this broadcast. After we're gone, you're going to be seeing, I believe, DRF and SIG, which is, again, just a goated broadcast. So before they kick us out of here, Carney, let's stop talking about the LCS teams. Let's stop talking about all these awesome, amazing competitors. Let's talk about ourselves. Where can the lovely viewers find you on the internet?
Y'all can find me down on my Blue Sky, carnivide.bsci.social. Find me over here on SplatoonTourney, and IPL is wherever you guys get your New England lands. I will be there as well. What about you, Hammy?
You can find me basically everywhere on the internet at Hammy in the Wall. Most actively, you're going to find me down on my name card here, hitw.inc. That is my Blue Sky. You can also just go to that URL, and it'll bring you right there. Carney, thanks for commentating with me. This is a blast.
Thank you.
This was a good time. I'm glad we got 2 Game 5s. This was great. Ellie, thank you for streaming. Thanks to everybody that's a part of
Thank you
SplatoonTourney
guys
LCS.
so much.
This is an amazing event, and we're so glad to be here. We're going to get kicked out of here very quickly before we get yelled at for yapping too long. So don't go anywhere. Next set is coming up straight ahead. You're going to want to watch the rest of LCS, so stay tuned.
Okay, awesome. Right, we're figuring out some mic stuff, apparently. So, all good. Welcome, everybody, to the LAN Championship Showdown 2026. I am DRF, joined by Sig, who is trying to figure out the mic situation, who will be back in just a moment. But we are here, and going into losers round 1, it is going to be Deep Fried Chuds representing SoCali, facing off against Synchronized representing Toronto, which honestly might be the furthest distance apart that we could get 2 of these teams. So I'm pretty excited for this cross-continent showdown. And Sig, if you are back, I'm going to throw this one over to you. Let's chat about some of the faces that we are seeing here. Oh, still not working. I hear Sig.
Hello?
So, you know what?
Hello. There we go. Okay. I had to click the right box this time. On me. But we've got some familiar faces now for both of these teams. Most recent of which, Atlas on Deep Fried Chuds, who had a fantastic showing at the North American League yesterday, getting all the way to second place, taking sets off teams like Duck Motif and Moonlight. The rest of the team is no slouches either. I mean, this team won a LAN, for crying out loud. If I can get to, it's Mia, very well-known Wiper player. We got Jagaika, the roller, very strong, I believe, on a collegiate team, which is more under your realm of expertise, DRF.
Yes, Reef runners, both Redrum and Jagaika. Now champions of the CCA. So representing Cal Poly Pomona. So I am a big fan of both of those players. They have just done so much. They won yesterday at a LAN. Yesterday. And now they're here representing SoCali for a different LAN championship showdown. So it's super cool to see them. SoCali bias aside, I am really looking forward to this matchup here. I mean, all the matches so far today have been pretty damn good, if I must say so myself.
Absolutely. I mean, we've already had 2 Game 5s. We might be running a little bit late because of it, but hey, if it's 4 Game 5s, it's absolutely worthwhile. But on the other side, we haven't even gotten to talk about Synchronized yet. A bunch of faces here. Nigel, excellent carbon roller. iCarly God, Naoto Shiragane on Sendu, but iCarly God, heavy edit, one trick, incredibly good at it. We've got Dylan and Onion to round out the comp. I don't believe that's what Onion's playing, the Clash Blaster, but we're going to rock with it for the time being anyways. Going over to our first map, we are kicking things off on Splat Zones on Ship-Shaped Cargo Company. Definitely a very solid map, especially if you have some weapons that are pretty good at just taking control of that space right in front of the zone around that court area, like the Wiper or just some AoE stuff too.
Certainly, and we're going to be queuing in here. The thing that's going to stand out to me right away, Jagaika is bringing out the signature Vanilla Splat Roller. We talked about taking space there, Sig, and that Vanilla Splat Roller with the bubbler, I think, is going to do such a fantastic job of that. And then you combine that with Redrum on the bamboo, and you can kind of create a bit of a monster there, where Redrum just has a lot of space to operate, and you're already kind of seeing a bit of that in action with how close that they were playing together on that opening. But it is going to be the Deep Fried Chuds that take first blood and first control of the zone, and it's just Onion left standing, but they're actually in a pretty solid position there, holding that top left corner. Such a key spot to be in, especially in the opening of this game.
Yep, you can get a lot of control of the middle of the map from the top right. Now, Synchronized were able to get back in, even though Onion wasn't able to kind of maintain that control. But now they've gotten the cap back for Synchronized, and now they're looking to just try and fight a little bit more. The Wavebreaker comes out to clear out the court, and with that tactical from Onion, the rest of the team is going to look to capitalize. Nigel runs straight into Mia's Ultra Stamp, but gets traded out. The Killer Whale's coming through. Jagaika is able to find one onto iCarly God, and looking for the second one in the zone, but forces the other player to back off. Deep Fried Chuds, they still barely have this lead, DRF, and they're looking to maybe capitalize on that and extend a little bit more.
Atlas reaching with that fizzy bomb there to be able to get that pick. and the zone going to be flipping back in favor of the team from Toronto. But this is such a neutral game. Both teams just trying to take control of this zone. Mia on the hammer going to find the trade in the corner.
Yep, there's one trade still getting a lot of space for Deep Fried Chuds here, but Jagaika is going to go down, and that's going to lead to a pretty solid advantage for Synchronized. They've gotten a lot of the top of the map under their control. iCarlyGod is trying to just rain down paint from up above, is able to find the pick onto Atlas, and it looks like either Dylan or Onion was able to find 2 more players on the top left just to kind of clear that out. And now Synchronized, they finally are able to kind of get this extended hold going. The Trizuka comes through, not able to find anything just yet. Maybe this third shot? No. The Killer Whale does find 2. Onion and iCarlyGod do have to back off. Mia has that Ultra Stamp, maybe looking to throw. Not quite going to find anything, but it does get Deep Fried Chuds back in.
Yeah, so they do get the lead Synchronized here, but it costs them quite a bit, and they're still paying for it here, as Deep Fried Chuds will easily take back the lead here with just halfway through this game. A lot of Splatoon left to be played in game number 1, but it looks like Deep Fried Chuds in a very aggressive position here, maybe just overextending a little bit. 2 people were in that left pit, kind of just leaving an open alleyway for Synchronized to waltz right up to the zone, and they're going to take advantage and flip it back in their favor.
But just for a moment, as Deep Fried Chuds, they're still able to find a couple of picks. Mia's able to get 2 in the pit. Onion has to shut her down eventually. But Synchronized are still pretty far on the back foot here. Onion is able to even up the numbers a little bit more with a pick onto Atlas. The Trizuka comes through, and Red Rum goes down. This is Synchronized's chance to get back in, and they're able to constantly find all of these players. Nigel with a triple, and the 4th ends up going down here on the side of Deep Fried Chuds. Synchronized, they get another chance here. They don't have much penalty point left here. What else do they need to maybe take this lead back?
Well, right now they're in a really solid position. Dylan just needs to stay in that key position. They're on that top left because that's going to be the key entry point for Deep Fried Chuds, and it pays off. We see 3 going down, and it's just Atlas in that top left snipe area from the perspective of Toronto here. And that's going to allow them to get back this lead. They continue to hold the position. Red Room going to have to come up with a huge shot here and finds it, but Atlas goes down at the same time. Jagaika going to make a run here, able to find the pick. 15 left on the timer for this knockout, but Jagaika in the zone by himself is going to be able to help neutralize it, but can't get the flip. Is there a follow-up? Atlas trying to force it, not going to be able to do so. Will pay the price. Red Room and Mia trying to force the flip now, and there's the wipeout. Total chaos in the zone results in Deep Fried Chuds holding on and buying themselves a little more time.
Just barely in time too. I mean, Synchronized were this close to KOing, and now Deep Fried Chuds, they can get a hold going of their own. There's no penalty left, but Atlas does drop to the Trizuka. That's 2 players down to it with no tactical. Mia, this hammer's gonna have to go huge, but it just doesn't, as Dylan's able to get behind her and find a pick. The zone is neutralized, but it's flipped orange again eventually. 15 seconds left, and now Deep Fried Chuds have to make a mad dash to the zone. Red Rum's not quite able to find anything in pit. The rest of Synchronized playing their cards very wisely here, being patient. Now they're moving forwards. Nigel finds 2. There are 2 people on the zone, and Atlas is able to find a pick, but they're just not able to get the flip in time, and Synchronized take game 1.
That zone is so blue. They barely missed it. Wow, the Deep Fried Chuds are really wishing that they had just half a second more in that game, and we could be talking about a very different situation. Oh, that's gotta sting just a little bit.
It is a little bit tough. Every single time you have one of those after the call, after the whistle caps, it's so frustrating, whether, you know, on either side of the game, because you're like, oh, you know, just a couple of seconds earlier, and maybe we could have eked something out here. Maybe we could have had a chance, but I mean, that's just not how it went. Synchronized is able to get that first map win, and that is really important, really sets the tone for the team. And going into game 2, I mean, they have a lot of stuff working in their favor, a lot of weapons that kind of shut down what Deep Fried Chuds want to do. And on Inkblot Art Academy, they can really shut down some of those sides of the map that a lot of these weapons really want to go on. I'm thinking especially just the Dynamo Roller able to deal with the Ink Rail to get up to bats and behind. That's going to be huge. Definitely looking at Dylan here.
Yeah, and you know, as we've kind of seen from game number 1, we are going to be seeing a lot of rollers in this set. There is certainly going to be, at least 2 on the field almost at all times. But this is going to add to the intensity of this game number 2 because of the options with how many ledges there are. The roller's going to have a lot of, from either side, going to have a lot of opportunities to get some quick picks, see if they can snowball that for their teammates to make a rush in from either ramp to approach that basket. So watch out for rollers on both teams to be the big playmakers of this game.
Absolutely. And I mean, we can't discount any of the other weapons that are really good at sharking under those ledges either. Atlas on the Tri-Slosher, Mia on the Wiper, and I mean, the 2 rollers, obviously. But again, the Tri-Slosher from Onion too. All of these weapons really good at fighting around the stacks as well in mid. Feel very at home just trying to play around that cover. But it's going to be very difficult again for Deep Fried Chuds to get much going here as long as they have to face down that Dynamo and Heavy Splatling combo. It's very difficult, but already Synchronized is playing pretty reserved so far, just not really leaving their plat. That's going to work out fairly well as they're able to find the pick on the Jagaika. Maybe a 1 more on Mia. She's 1 HP and is able to jump out just barely in time, and now they're trying to flip the map. Dylan here finds 2, and I mean, they've completely flipped the scenario, and they have a power plant from Onion.
Oh, and that's the first score of the game. Nigel gonna pile in a little bit of extra change here, but I think this push might be set and done. Mia gonna slam home that hammer, and it is going to send the remaining members of Synchronized retreating, but not before they turn around and get Mia on the way out. Synchronized gonna find some value, despite only getting to 1+2 to kick off this push.
Yeah, a very solid opening for Synchronized. Again, just setting that tempo for the game puts them in control of a lot of it. Nigel almost taken out by the Killer Whale, but is able to walk over to the other side of the map and find a trade at bare minimum. Gets Dylan and iCarlyGod set up fairly well here, as well as Onion, but Red Rum's able to clean up right there. And there's iCarlyGod again for the trade. Deep Fried Chuds, they're not really able to progress past the middle of the map super easily until Jagaika is able to get 1 more with the support of Red Rum. They just don't have the clan economy just yet to... Never mind. Atlas has a power clan, and now they can start scoring again.
Well, let's see how this retaliation goes. They have quite a few clams to their name, but they don't have the positioning to bank those in. And it is going to be a barely lead swap. Actually, Red Rum gonna find a few clams. So 5 is the total that get dunked in after the power clam. That buys SoCali the lead, but Synchronized, just 1 power clam and 1 little clam is enough to take it right back.
Yeah, so far though, I mean, they've gotten a good bit of map control, but with Inkblot Art Academy, you kind of struggle on 1 fight, and this can all be gone in an instant. You have to find a lot of value here from your specials, and Nigel right there with the Trizuka is able to find 1. Now we have the power clam and the tactical cooler ready. Red Rum is on that top right, just watching over everything, trying to shut down these aggressive plays, but Onion's walking in. Nigel is behind, but is Killer Whale. The burst bomb's able to find 1, but it's only an exit frag for Synchronized, as again, Deep Fried Chuds, they're able to just turn this around so quickly. And I mean, they're already knocking on the plat here.
Yeah, and Mia just overextending a little bit, trying to draw some attention. I think was successful in that, but the rest of their team wasn't quite in the position to follow up with it in the immediate. But nonetheless, they are still knocking on the door of the plat here, and Jagaika is going to make a move there. Is going to be able to avenge Mia, finds another kill. It is just going to be the Carbon, but where is the Carbon? It looks like the Carbon's going to be behind them, but do they know that? No, Nigel's actually going to be jumping out. A potentially great call, as it looks like SoCali is in position to add additional points here. But do they see Jagaika jumping in? Jagaika got in pretty safely, actually, and decides to bail out. Not a bad call, but I think if he stuck around, he might have been able to get it in.
Maybe could have, but at that point, you are kind of messing with how much space does this give the other team if I go down here instead of playing for the life, especially when we go down to the around last minute 30 seconds. This is where Synchronized can kind of flip the game on its head. The Killer Whale from Dylan's able to find 1, a little bit of chip damage to help out Nigel as well. 7 clans able to make that power clam on the bottom left hand side, as Nigel and Onion have a lot of control of the top left. they're able to dunk the power clam, and just a little bit more for the lead from Nigel. Onion's the last one left. She's able to find one, but not much more. iCarly God is able to just hold down the fort in mid in the meantime. And with 50 seconds left, this lead, it's not quite safe, but you'll take what you can get here.
You will take what you can get, and that is what Synchronize just had to do. One power clam is going to be the difference maker for SoCali if they can find a way in. But that's the tough part, is what avenue do you take to get to that basket? They've been so good at just holding aggression and knocking on the door all game long. Do they have one more in them?
It looks like they might. 2 players down on the side of Synchronize. The big bubbler is up from Jagaika. Red Rum's able to get 1 power clam. That's the lead again. Mia's the last one left. It's a full wipeout in the last 10 seconds. Synchronize need to make a mad dash for the basket. Dylan's already there. They have a wave breaker, but that's only useful if you're able to hold that space. How much value are you going to get out of it? You just need the 1 power clam. iCarly God is able to find 1 more pick to go along with it. Maybe they try and sneak one in if they find the pick under the roller, but with half of overtime going over and Red Rum watching over, it's very difficult. Nigel's able to sneak through though, and they get both power clams in to take that lead back. They have put themselves on match point, and they are not here to mess around.
Oh man, what a play. What a back and forth between these 2 teams. They were just so good at responding to each other. Every time we saw one team manage to get a solid push off, score some notable points there, it cost them a lot. Like, these teams invested a lot in every single one of their pushes, which I think really created the seesaw effect in this game where neither team had a lead that was quite safe. I mean, every single time, all it took was 1 plus 2 clams, I think was the greatest lead that we had ever seen.
Yeah, 2, maybe 3 at the very end there, but it doesn't really matter when you're dunking 2 power clams in at the very end. I mean, 1 clam is just as good a lead as 3 at that point, and Synchronize were able to close it out. A little bit of a scramble, very scrappy, but they're able to keep with it. Excellently done. Again, just the amount of control that especially iCarly God and Dylan can exude over this over the map, just with the heavy edit and with the dynamo roller. It's a ton of paint, a ton of damage, very difficult to work with. Now, Deep Fried Chuds were able to navigate that a little bit better, but still just not quite able to hold the space they wanted to when they started scoring, and that really made it difficult for them here.
It did. They just had, they had a lot of great moments, and I think that the main thing here for Deep Fried Chuds is that they are hanging with Synchronize very well. It's just coming down to those clutch opportunities where Synchronize is just 1 step ahead. And Deep Fried Chuds is certainly not out of this set yet, although they do face the most difficult situation here of being in an 0-2 hole and having to force a reverse sweep to keep their hopes alive in this whole tournament. Nobody wants to go out 0-2 in the LAN Championship Showdown. I mean, this means so much to all of these different teams, all of these different players. So you have to know that Deep Fried Chuds, they are not going out without a fight.
Yeah, and going on to tower control on Mako-Mart, this is as good a chance as any for them to kind of establish some momentum, get some control. Their comp is really well suited to just going through the sides of the map and like causing a lot of like fights and just scrappy engagements with the rest of Synchronize, where it's difficult for multiple players to look at different directions at the same time. This is probably one of the best opportunities that Deep Fried Chuds have gotten so far, and I'm very curious to see if this is going to be, if they're able to take it here. Already, the blaster on the bottom right is clearing a ton of space, making life difficult for Deep Fried Chuds. They're able to clear it out eventually, but I believe it's at the cost of, it's at the cost of a couple of players. Is Mia on the mini Splatling right now?
I was hoping you'd circle around to it because I am very intrigued by this decision. Mia on the mini Splatling, a little bit unprecedented for her. Not that she hasn't played it before, but we know Mia so well for that wiper gameplay. You must be thinking, what is the reason for this pivot? The hammer is equivalent, so they must have just felt like they maybe needed a little bit more, like ink support, just something along those lines to be able to navigate this double roller comp. And maybe the idea that they knew that a blaster carbon was going to come out here, they just said, paint everything. That is the key to victory.
So far, it's working pretty well. They're already past that first checkpoint. Mia is able to find another pick with the Ultra Stamp throw. Atlas cleaning up the wipeout. The Killer Whale is popped for everybody respawning. And Deep Fried Chuds is already onto that second checkpoint. This is quite difficult to take, but without the heavy splatling, you sacrifice a lot of the range that Synchronized normally have. iCarly got actually switched to the blaster, but it doesn't quite matter as everybody's able to just fire down onto the tower, clean everyone up. Mia jumps in just barely alive after that second engagement and is trying to dance around, maybe jump out in time. There it is. But Synchronized, they've been able to clear. Now they just have to take back into mid. And Jagaika, again, is just finding these sharks. The map control is really working out for Deep Fried Chud so far.
It certainly is, but now that they've staggered a little bit and they're coming out of spawn almost entirely, Synchronized, 2 minutes in, gonna get their first push of the game. So they are going to clear that first checkpoint. They close in on the lead just a little bit, but the question is how much can they close this? Everybody alive, trying to play just a little bit safe, building up specials to the best of their ability. 2 going to go down, and Jagaika going to find a nice double there. The jump in, Atlas will clean this one up, and that is 3 down on the side of Synchronized Deep Fried Chuds with the great defensive stop.
Fantastic work for Deep Fried Chuds there. Jagaika able to find 2 just to get the rest of the team back in, but the Trizuka from Nigel is able to keep that player advantage in mid over in favor of Synchronized. The Fizzy Bombs are coming through to just provide a little bit more support. The Ultra Stamp as well, but Nigel's dashing forward, doesn't really care about it. Now we'll rotate for it as a couple players go down, finds the trade and forces a ton of damage onto Atlas here. But now we've got a little bit of a tough spot for Synchronized. They did find Jagaika there, and Nigel's able to walk forwards again, finding Mia. But how much more do you need to walk forward? So far, it's been pretty good for them, but this Trizuka's not able to find anything, and they're not really close to, well, they're close to a couple of specials, but they're not really the best at finding some picks like Bazooka is. How will they be able to progress this and maybe take the lead?
Well, it's going to really revolve around Funnydew at the moment, who's on this blast, doing such a great job of watching these ledges and really making Red Rum's life in particular very difficult. But fortunately, Red Rum just continuing to paint, knowing that the rest of the team, if Red Rum can help kind of give them some space, they can go in and get the kills themselves, and they have done just that to neutralize this tower.
Yep, Atlas is able to walk forwards as well, just try and clear out iCarly God yet again on the bottom left-hand side. This blaster is absolutely loving it down there, but maybe not quite as Jagaika is able to find the pick. Deep Fried Chuds are still doing really well on this defense so far. They're able to turn it into another push of their own, trying to extend this lead, maybe clear that second checkpoint. Red Rum is able to pop the Killer Whale from the Bamboozler, and Mia with the Ultra Stamp is able to force Funnydew into a very uncomfortable spot. Nigel is behind the tower as well. Not an easy place to be for a Carbon Roller, and that's another pick over for Deep Fried Chuds. So much damage, and the fall off from Jagaika is able to get that second checkpoint with the picks it creates along with Red Rum. You were talking about this 1-2 punch, this two-headed monster of these two collegiate players, and so far it has been working fantastically this game.
When you play with someone for so long, there just becomes unspoken communication. And Red Rum and Jagaika have been playing around each other beautifully so far in this game, but they're gonna have to find it one more time to put together a stop and extend this set to a game 4, keeping their LCS hopes alive. It's going to come down to building up some specials, and pretty quickly, but it doesn't matter when Jagaika can find a double.
Oh, and Nigel's not on the tower. Deep Fried Chuds, they're almost able to grab the tower, but Nigel barely clutches up for that. Synchronized need to find 1, almost 2 entire checkpoints here, but nobody's able to stay on that tower for long enough. Dylan just found out by Mia, and with Jagaika able to ride the tower at the very end, Deep Fried Chuds, they take their first game. We've got ourselves a series here, DRF.
I was starting to sweat for Deep Fried Chuds a little bit. I mean, that push went on a bit longer than I think they were even thinking, because the members of Synchronized did such a good job of just staying alive, even if it was just one member. And that one member was able to allow the jump-ins to come in. They were able to continue to chain them together by themselves, just a point at a time. And they closed in on the lead pretty considerably. It was still quite a distance away. They had to kind of come up with one or two more big plays to get there. But Deep Fried Chuds, you could see the scramble just a little bit, and they got pretty uncomfortable at the end there.
Yeah, but scramble situations is where a comp like Deep Fried Chuds really thrives with the wiper, with the roller and everything. They want to box you. They want to just take those ones and take those really tough fights where you're already a little bit damaged to kind of help out with the lethality. And it worked out pretty well for them otherwise. Some really solid defensive holds there. Some great pushes down to the third checkpoint. Going into Rainmaker on Museum de Alfonsino, though, there's a lot more range to contest. Red Rum is going to have to go huge here and really find some, just make iCarly God's life difficult again here. Just force that Heavy to kind of take a lot of cover, not really get that paint and map control that they're used to so far.
Certainly, as, you know, Red Rum, we haven't seen a whole lot from him here yet today, but you know, I think that Red Rum has done such a good job, though, of consistently, you know, staying alive, just being part of the consistent pressure. So you know that Red Rum's always around, you know, even though if Red Rum's not the one necessarily converting the big plays.
Fair point. And there's a switch over to a Zap 85 as well for Onion, opting for a little bit more of the mobility, leading away from the fizzy spam. Mia is still on that mini Splatling, though. The paint really helped out from that previous game from the looks of it. And I mean, if it just won, there's no reason not to switch it, I guess, right now. So far, Deep Fried Chuds do have a good bit of map control. A lot of them are marked, but Onion does end up going down here, and that's going to give a pretty early player advantage to Deep Fried Chuds.
Yeah, but it looks like the Toronto Roca team here is going to do a great job of maintaining just a little bit of space between themselves and the members from SoCali, doing a good job of just slowing down this push to the best of their ability. Funny Do creating a bit of a wall, but the hammer going to be used to shut them down. Atlas now going to find an opportunity, start inching up, and Jagika going to try to make a play. No, goes right in between two players. Oh, a 7-10 split going against them.
Pretty tough for Deep Fried Chuds here as Nigel's able to continue just walking forwards, making space for Synchronize. And I mean, now Deep Fried Chuds have found themselves between a bit of a rock and a hard place. They're not able to very easily drop into mid. Jagaika on the left-hand side is going to have to go huge here. Finds 1, 2, almost the third. And that's going to be a very early, very successful. There's the third big defense for Deep Fried Chuds. They don't have the checkpoint, but so far this bodes fairly well for them.
It does bode well for them, and you're right. Neither team getting the checkpoint at this stage, a little bit surprising. I thought one team would have been able to break through at this point as we approach, you know, the 3-minute mark, or 3 minutes remaining for that matter. But the Rainmaker's actually going to reset here, and now Mia's gonna try to be a playmaker, but Funny Do gonna utilize the Splatling to shut that one down. Red Rum continuing to just try and ink around, intimidate the members from Synchronize, see if they can push up, but Funny Do been holding down the front line with that Splatling pretty well.
Oh yeah, I mean, Heavy Splatling paints so much, it's able to kind of prevent everything from running at it. And same thing with the Zap, as Onion's able to find a pick onto Atlas, but the wipeout for Deep Fried Chuds does give them the first breakaway of the game. There's the checkpoint, the big bubbler pretty far up. Mia's got the Ultra Stamp, tossing it, is able to find one, and a lot of damage onto Dylan. And Funny Do is able to find the follow-up onto a second. That's massive, but Atlas does end up dropping down to avoid the Killer Whale. Red Rum still has a lot of control of Plat, but I believe Deep Fried Chuds, they're going to want to kind of reset here, just play for a couple more picks, get those jumps back in, and go for another 4v4 or 4v3.
And this is such a dangerous position to have Red Rum in. Red Rum can just see straight down and be able to get whatever picks they really wanted to there. They did such a good job holding ground, and now 34 remaining is where Deep Fried Chuds will end their push. Synchronize gonna find an opportunity to drop this down, neutralize the stage just a little bit, seeing if they can get back some paint control. And oh, don't tell me that Deep Fried Chuds is already gonna pull this back.
No way. They're already running it back, making it harder for the rest of Synchronize to kind of take the Rainmaker. Atlas is trying to get it into the spot to just stall the Rainmaker. Very hard to reach for the side of Deep Fried Chuds. You have to clear so much map to safely get it. Looks like they're able to get most of it so far, but are they aware of Red Rum? doesn't really matter as Onion's able to pick up the Rain. Now Synchronize have another chance, but with Jagaika again with this roller, just constantly making life so difficult for the Rainmaker, finding the splat, finding a lot more space as well. Deep Fried Chuds, they've done pretty well for themselves now with a minute left. The question is, can they hold off the rest of Synchronize's push here?
That is going to be the question in this final minute as Nigel comes up with a big pit there that Atlas seemed like they should have had. And now numbers flipping into Synchronize's favor, but Nigel can't reach that last player. So it's going to slow down the push of Synchronize just a little bit. They do have control of mid, but a checkpoint still stands between them and a trip to the next round. It is going to come down to this next push. All the time in the world with this Rainmaker to try to make this play here to this checkpoint, but Dylan's gonna go down to the whales. Atlas coming up big here, is able to take down Funnydew as well. Jumps coming in from Synchronize. Mia gonna go down here as well. It is all out chaos at this stage. Nigel gonna finally get the grab and force this over to the checkpoint.
There's the checkpoint, but Synchronize, they still have a lot of ground to make up. Redrum and Mia, the two players that can hold the most space on their own, are still standing tall here. Dylan's able to find one onto Jagaika. There's the Rainmaker, the hammer throw, not quite able to find anything just yet. Onion does have that Rain looking for a golden opportunity to walk forwards, but with Atlas tossing Fizzies from the top left, it's going to be a tall order for Synchronize here. They've got a couple of killer whales on them as well, a lot of chip damage. There goes Nigel again, but these rollers, they're still doing a ton of work. Half of the Rainmaker timer is gone. Redrum is still on that back left, and Atlas just walking forwards, drops into the bottom left. There your Fizzy's gone. Now you have a window for Synchronize, but Nigel not able to clear out Mia in time, and we are going to a game 5.
Holy smokes. Deep Fried Chuds once again giving us a crazy ending there. They built up a significant lead and were pushed to the brink. I mean, Synchronize just coming up short once again. Wow, just absolute insanity in that ending. Woo.
That's just plain ridiculous. They're able to just claw their way back with just one quick weapon swap from Mia over to the mini splat leg. Really kind of enables the rest of the comp too. And the way they played that overtime, it got a little bit dicey at the end, like game 3, but still they're able to clutch it up. They played to their win condition incredibly well of those Fizzy bombs, just spamming the area with paint, trying to get as many specials cycled as possible. And they closed it out. Now we're going to a game 5. I believe we're going back to zones. There it is on Hagglefish Market, El Clasico here, DRF.
El Clasico, indeed. So this is once again a game 5. This is going to be, as far as I am aware, the 6th game 5 of the evening so far. Second in losers round 1. So Z-tier players having won game 5 against Overseer on the other side of the losers bracket. I mean, at the very least, I think we are getting a ton of value here today as spectators, as fans of the LAN Championship Showdown, because 6 game 5s up to this point, what other tournament is going to give us that?
I can't list any right now. I mean, this is unbelievable, and we've still got a lot more sets to play. But before all of that, we still have another game to get through. Again, I just want to go back to these comps, just highlighting the Splatlings have been really, really helpful in enabling the rest of this comp. It gives Redrum a lot of space to walk forwards on that Bamboozler again. Jagaika, again, is very at home with a lot of paint on the ground for Deep Fried Chuds here. And Atlas, with the Tri-Slosher, never going to say no to a little bit more paint for that. Synchronize, iCarly has put so much paint on the ground for Onion, for Nigel, and Dylan as well, just really benefiting from all that, giving Dynamo some space to move. It's been working out fantastically so far, but I think we have a quick little disconnect, so we'll be back into this lobby in a second. The comps, that's a Frozen Pro. I'm not sure if we'll be seeing that, but so far I really like the adaptation from these teams.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show that this is a chess match. You know, every single game matters. Every single game you gather new information and you're able to find ways to respond to your opponent. You know, what have they been doing well? How can we neutralize that? What are their weaknesses that we can expose? So, you know, we've seen it so far. The big pivot here from Mia going from Wiper to mini Splatling and how that has paid dividends for Deep Fried Chuds so far. And now we're going to see a potential answer here from Synchronize. We'll see for sure if that is going to be the type of comp that they're going to bring out.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see that. Hagglefish Market, one of those maps where you can get a lot of mileage out of just playing the two different sides of the map. You kind of just go up there, shark under a ledge if you're a carbon roller or a tri-slosher or anything, and just kind of clear out this entire half of the map to just make it unsafe, kind of funnel the rest of the team in for a Trizuka or for a Dynamo Roller or just for Killer Whales even, and just walking forwards with them. That is so potent and very important for both of these teams to kind of work around and play for, is just getting their rollers, their ledge demons on the sides of those maps.
Well, let's do it for real this time. A date with Shark on the line in game number 5. The loser goes home. Let's do this. Couple of adjustments here. The notable one being, as we had pointed out, Dylan, in fact, bringing out the Frozen Pro.
Yeah, those Tenta missiles really good for breaking a very extended neutral game here. Already Jaga Ika, though, on that bottom left, making it so nobody on Synchronized
How did they get
can...
there that fast?
I don't know, maybe the Curling Bombs is able to find the pick on the Onion, though, and that's going to give Deep Fried Chuds a very early team fight win. Mia's able to walk forwards with that Ultra Stamp, find the pick onto Dylan. Honeydew, though, still able to kind of hold down that zone, or hold down the space in front of the zone at least, neutralize it for Synchronize, and now with the Trizuka trying to get that flip back, not quite able to get, actually going down to Atlas's Fizzy Bombs, and now Deep Fried Chuds, again with some more staggering and some more picks, they can kind of snowball this with the Roller and the Killer Whales.
Mia gonna pop the hammer, seeing what value she can find, able to find one, but it's gonna be a trade, a great neutralization there from Onion.
Very, very strong work for Synchronize, but it's not enough. Deep Fried Chuds are still able to hold on to that zone. They're down to 35 points remaining here, and they're not giving up that many easy picks. Atlas does go down, but all the way on the bottom left side of the map, Dylan has to walk all the way forward. Is able to find one. The Trizuka comes through as Dylan finds two, almost a third. Atlas goes down eventually to Onion's Tri-Slosher, and now Synchronize, they're still able... they're still in this. They're still looking for that win. They're hungry. And with the Tactical and the Wavebreaker, they've controlled a lot of space in front. But now they're kind of giving some space to Nigel, just letting the Carbon Roller work, do its thing with some Fizzy Bomb and heavy Splatling support. Synchronize, they're close to this lead already, DRF.
Yeah, but it's going to be all the specials for Deep Fried Chuds to make their re-entry here into the zone. Going to get the neutralization plus the flip. So huge work there. They were the only ones with specials. I mean, Synchronize had one to work with in that play. So it does allow them to get back some control. They do flip the zone, but now the question is, can they take the space? Because we're back to a pretty neutral game.
Yeah, we're already back to it, and nobody really wanting to overstep on the zone. I believe somebody's on the right-hand side. It looks like it's Dylan, but as Jagaika is able to find that pick onto Nigel, we're still staying in a pretty neutral state here, but Toronto Roca Synchronized, they're still able to hold onto the zone, just barely. They've gotten through almost all of their penalty, but there's the big bubbler pop in the zone. Will it neutralize? Just barely. Dylan goes down on the left-hand side as well, and that gives space for the Roller to flank. Almost able to find one, but just not able to find anything yet. Mia's running through that zone with the Ultra Stamp, gets another pick. Atlas and Red Rum are able to get a ton of damage and force the rest of Synchronize back here, but it's still not like the exclamation mark that you want to kind of push forwards past this zone just yet.
Synchronize trying to get back into position here. It's going to be a little bit slow to neutralize, but it is a contested zone. Synchronize gets control briefly, but Deep Fried Chuds doing a great job of continuing to swing this zone back and 4th. This next team fight gonna hold a lot of value here for these two teams. Neither one wants to be the one to make the mistake. Everyone's respecting the boundaries here, but Mia's gonna go down, and that's the green light that Nigel needs to go on ahead and find some more opportunities. But no, it's gonna be a 2v1, and Nigel's gonna go down. Dylan gonna go ahead and go give themselves a shot here, trying to see if they can move around the members of Deep Fried Chuds. They're all waiting themselves on the left side of that map. Atlas gonna be forced back, and Dylan finds 2. That's gonna be huge. This should be the lead for Toronto Roca.
There, it's right there, and you have 2 specials to hold on. It's going to be very difficult for Deep Fried Chuds to take this back. The Wavebreaker just clearing, marking everybody that decides to drop. The Trizuka is able to find Mia, and just barely Synchronize are looking for that game 5 win. They've got it. They're able to hold on. They move on. They've got a date with Shark in round 2 of losers. They take the game 5 over Deep Fried Chuds, and just barely here, DRF.
They slam the door on the potential reverse sweep. Not today, Deep Fried Chuds. Synchronize. Moving on.
Fantastic work to Synchronize. Again, for Adaptive, we saw that Frozen Pro really good with the Tenta missiles that sort of punishing these very, I guess, lurky or just kind of static positions that sometimes that some of the members from Deep Fried Chuds will take, whether that's Jagaika trying to find a good shark timing, just revealing themselves, or maybe it's Red Rum kind of staying in the same spot for a little bit too long. The missiles will force you out and force an uncomfortable fight, and Synchronize were able to capitalize off that fantastically.
Yes, you're right. I mean, that Frozen Pro just seemed like the pivot that they needed in those last 2 games. You know, we talked about how Red Rum was just kind of dominating the space, you know, and that you always felt the pressure from Red Rum, but you know, it was always difficult to kind of deal with them. And I think that pivot to the Frozen Pro, allowing for Toronto Roca to be able to, hey, we're going to start moving you around and make you uncomfortable. That really seemed like a big difference maker in that game 5. So kudos to both teams. You know, we really saw 2 very notable pivots between them, but hey, I mean, that was just so good. But we'll go ahead and let Toronto Roca continue to lose his run here. We're going to make a bit of a pivot over to our winners semifinals match.
And on the side of winter semis, we've got a couple of the teams from down south. We've got Barbecue Pork Jambalaya from H-Town Splashdown. Then we got Monsoon Season from Sunset Surge. We just went from one of the furthest, location differences for a LAN to what has to be one of the closest that's not in that northeast corridor of LANs.
I was gonna say the northeast corridor, they were just like all neighbors basically. So, but yes, I am so excited for this one. Sunset Surge and H-Town Splashdown have a solid rivalry. Let's just say that. These two, there's a love-hate relationship. Let's put it that way between these 2 LANs. You know, they love to hate each other. And they wish nothing but the best and also the worst. So I'm super excited. Couple of layered storylines here. Shiny versus Pika as well. Teammates that have played together on a variety of different teams that they're going to be going up against each other now. They both played in the Splatoon 3 North American League together. So this is going to be a really fun opportunity between those 2. Pepe and Len both won Genesis X together, going up against each other.
Yeah, and as well, on that North American League team with Pika and Shiny was Miner. I believe the roster was Shiny, Pika, Miner, Leaf, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, he's playing with Pika again. So, I mean, Barbecue Pork Jambalaya, they have a fairly stacked roster. Parachu as well. Fantastic Pen player, former Magnolia player, former Yellow Jackets player as well. And then, I mean, at this point, we all know the Wahoo World Tenebrella player of SEMO. Legendary Tent has been in and around the top level with Bet and with several other teams like it for so long. This is an absolutely stacked semifinal.
I am so glad we got this one. Thank you to whatever organizer, producer gave us this match. because this is the one I had circled on the schedule from the minute we knew which teams were representing this. I knew that the second we were, those two teams were here, they were going to play, they had to play each other because this match is going to be absolute cinema.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've had 3 Game 5s, I believe, so far on this stream. There might be a 4th as well. These are 2 of the teams that are probably the most evenly matched. A few, when discussing some of these teams with a few of my friends, we were just going back and forth on who do we think would take this one if these 2 teams were to hypothetically play, and it was a pretty even split. I'm very curious to see what both these teams bring. I believe we saw Barbecue Pork Jambalaya bringing some sort of double AoE with a pencil and a splatling, if I recall correctly, and then Monsoon Season has this absurd comp with an Explosher, a pencil, shot, and whatever Simo feels like bringing, honestly.
Well, Pepe does know a thing or two about playing with an Explosher, so I think that this is going to be a very natural pairing for the 2 of them. So I'm really excited to see how that goes. And like you said, CMO probably tent, but we'll kind of see what CMO ultimately brings out, and of course Shiny, the backline that can do it all. Shiny has got to be one of the most slippery players to ever play this game. It is not unheard of for Shiny to only get splatted 2 or 3 times in a set.
Yeah, they're very difficult to kind of pin down, whether you're, no matter what weapon you're playing, and you try and use a special, Shiny's just in the right spot at the right time almost every time, and that just makes it so difficult to kind of get these wipeouts, get these definitive fight wins against Monsoon Season. And that leads to some very, dare I say, frustrating games against teams like that, especially with a double backline. Very difficult to walk forwards into an Explosher as well, especially if it's charging that splashdown. Very, very strong get off me tool and a lot of pain output coming from Monsoon Season here. Barbecue Pork Jambalaya, they have some pain output too, but they have a ton of fighting power relatively as well with the blaster that I believe Len has been running, and I think Miner's on the bucket.
It always feels like that, like Miner and Len are cooking with and Pika. I mean, I do think that does make for a really entertaining team to follow because you don't know exactly what arc they are currently on. Those are the types of players that they are willing to experiment a little bit and really find the optimizations for any weapon that they feel like. And they're going to find a way to piece it together and make it work in a coherent composition. So, which really just makes things so much more interesting. And, separate soapbox aside, I think it's really healthy for this scene.
Absolutely. I love seeing either Wondrix or just people who really love playing this game and have the ability to do so, just kind of maximizing every last, just squeezing every last drop out of their weapons to kind of tip the scales in their favor. Now going over to Umami Ruins for our game 1 on Splat Zones. I mean, this is going to be quite difficult for Monsoon Season to take top mid just with the double AoE. They're able to kind of contest that rather easily by throwing a lot of large high damage hitboxes up there, but as soon as they get control of that, in my mind, Monsoon Season kind of have it made with the Explo.
Yeah, the Explo does get a lot of value here, being able to hold dome and just solo contest that closest zone. So, that's going to be something that H-Town is going to have to watch out for and play around. And yeah, there it is, the Explo and then the pen combo. It's really creates an interesting dynamic to have this sort of double backline, but that means that this Explo gets to play a little bit more aggressive, especially with that splashdown in town.
But who else gets to play aggressive? Simo already finding an early pick on the pairs who really gets things going for the side of Monsoon Season. Len is able to find a pick onto Pepe, but still, I mean, Barbecue Pork Jambalaya, they're not able to kind of get all this control of the zone. They're waiting for the rest of the team to get back up. Both Parachu and Pika looking at the zone as Nightmare is able to find that splashdown to clear even more space. Simo's there to keep that momentum going on the Tri-Slosher, and this is Ashen Tri. This is the one that we don't see super often with the splatter color screen. Very solid pick. To be very aggressive as we're seeing already, and Nightmare as well on this Explo, really playing this double backline comp well, with the Explo just constantly just getting into these tough spots. Simo does end up going down, the strikes come through, and this is Barbecue Pork Jambalaya's chance to recap.
Yeah, and you know what makes this so tricky is that you're always going to kind of be outranged if you're Barbecue Jambalaya, because there are those two backline weapons that can extend so far. But if you find an opportunity to pick off someone like CMO or Pepe, now the backlines don't have as much protection, especially if that Explo doesn't have the splashdown ready, and they could rush right in and flip these zones like they just did.
Yeah, that's where life gets difficult, and now life gets difficult again for Monsoon Season. It's very tough to retake. They don't have a lot of like consistently high value specials like a Tri-Strike, for example, that was just popped on the side of Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. They have to make value or get use out of that Trizuka and the triple splashdown, in which case they get pretty good use out of both of them, just able to clear that space into top mid, neutralize the zone. Parachu finds the fight onto Shiny, as well as Len clearing out Pepe on top mid. Now walking forwards, but Nightmare is able to clean that up. The big bubbler is pop, provides some safety, some respite for Miner, who is able to find the pick, as well as a jump camp, almost finding another one onto Shiny. But Simo, again with this Tri-Slosher, is putting in work on the front lines.
Miner now finding an opportunity here, going to actually bail out of that position, realize that they were a little bit alone, but they are in a strong spot nonetheless to try and hold these zones and possibly flip this lead. But Monsoon Season gonna make a rush in and flip it back just in time to hold on to the lead. And I mean, it feels like this game has been going on for quite a while, but we just passed the halfway mark.
Yeah, I mean, these are very tense games so far, and so far it could be anyone's game. We're within 2 points. We're barely within, like, we're very close to the same penalty points remaining even for both these teams, but Monsoon Season, they're still able to get control of the zone. Miner tries to jump out, but is picked off, and now we have another hold, a pretty solid hold, as Shiny is set up on that top left. For Monsoon Season. Parachu is just trying to get some control down. Len finds that early pick onto Simo. That's the go button for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. The cooler is popped for some extra mobility. The splashdown clears out Pika's big bubbler. Just barely not, actually. But Nightmare is still able to stay alive, find the 90 onto Len, which is cleaned up by Pepe's Trizuka. And speaking of Trizukas, I mean, these have been absolutely fantastic for Monsoon Season so far.
They certainly have, and now they're on the cusp here of a KO, but Parachu gonna try to neutralize this right zone one more time, but it's gonna get bombed out. The strikes coming in, but are they in time? It's enough to neutralize, but not enough to flip it, and Monsoon Season will dive in and claim the zone to force the knockout.
Very strong work from Monsoon Season. They're able to get a couple of extended holds there, again, just playing to the strengths of forcing Barbecue Pork Jambalaya to walk into them on that retake, and that's not an easy thing to do when you're playing against two incredibly long-range weapons, as well as a sharking Tri-Slosher that can be anywhere, and the Trizuka from either right behind you or all the way across the map, already in a safe spot. It's very tough to walk in on this team.
It is. It's such like an odd composition too on paper that you kind of have to rewire your brain a little bit to think about, you know, what are your priorities, right? You know, we saw a couple of good opportunities. We've shouted it out multiple times that when they found a chance to get CMO down, and they didn't exactly know where Pepe was, but they kind of figured, hey, this, you know, was an opportunity to start rushing in, because what are the double backlines going to do? You know, like, do they have immediate protection? If Pepe's not immediately surrounding either of them, we have an opportunity to go in, because if they can't land the shot, their first or second shot, we've got an open door, and we could rush right in and set up camp in the zones. And they did a good job of that, you know, but of course, it's Monsoon Season that won that game, utilizing that range very well, utilizing, the Pepe Zuka, the CMO just tri-slosh into screen. We don't get to see screen much, but that screen got a lot of value to find chances for both CMO and Pepe to slip on in and be a nuisance behind the backs of Barbecue Pork.
Yeah, and that splatter color screen really just breaks up the sight lines for Parachu, just making the opposing pen's job incredibly difficult. You do have to be careful, though, to try and not harm or at least make the job of your backline more difficult. But with the amount of practice that Monsoon Season have put in with this comp, they've been able to do a fantastic job so far. Now, this is on tower control on Ship-Shape Cargo Company. This is another map where screen gets a good amount of value, especially after that first checkpoint. The tower can, or the tower path goes through this court, which you want to have cleared, and that screen is very good at that. So far, Monsoon Season have been doing very well at clearing out mid. Len is very low HP, has to retreat to the back right with the rest of the team. Miner ends up going down, but no definitive wins just yet. Nobody did that first checkpoint. Barbecue Pork Jambalaya have been very good at stabilizing, enough for Len to just walk forwards and get 2 in the big bubbler.
Oh, and almost finds the third. Nightmare gets out with their life. So Len, though, is not done just yet. Able to continue to hold forward. Finally gonna jump out, realizing that they were on an island by themselves. But it does mean that the team gets to claim this first checkpoint and keep moving along.
Yep, there are the strikes there to clear even more space, force Pepe into a tough spot, and separate him from the rest of the backlines. That's the wipeout for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. They've been really good at, so far this game, separating all of Monsoon Season so far. The big bubbler to just get a couple of more points on the tower. Pika getting it down to 9 remaining. The strikes coming through again, and Nightmare trying to rush down Parachu just to kind of extend this stagger. Does get a lot of damage onto both Len and Parachu, but not able to find anything just yet. Gets picked off eventually, but with the rest of Monsoon Season just taking control of mid, they can kind of just chill out, or they're just immediately going for the trade on the Len.
And, a huge trade there, actually. This tower continues to slowly work its way back to neutral. I mean, Sunset Surge, they didn't care about that tower in the slightest. They said, let's go and take the space. The tower will eventually catch up. And as long as we can start pushing back, we might be able to find a window of opportunity. And they're finding that now. But can they clear that first checkpoint? No, Shiny not going to be able to get there and support the team in time. Nightmare going down right before, but Shiny's going to go ahead and clean this one up.
Yep, there's the checkpoint eventually, but they kind of delayed a little bit too long with those picks, with Pika taking that tower again, kind of starting the healing on the checkpoint, if you will, enough to get Len pretty far forwards, pop a big bubbler, prevent that push from getting any more out of hand. But Simo is able to find one, gets camped out on the jump, so does Pepe, actually. And now Barbecue Pork Jambalaya, they have attack cooler, they have a ton of space to work with, as well as the freshly respawning Monsoon Season, so they're not able to get to these spots quite as easily. Len just looking out, not able to spot Simo, though, who went far left. And I mean, now Monsoon Season, they have a way back into mid. Barbecue Pork Jambalaya are eventually able to deal, but not before Pepe gets all the way on the top left.
And that's exactly what CMO was trying to do there, was be a nuisance, draw the attention backwards. So that allowed the rest of the team to get up into this top right position and try to hold the tower there, making sure it didn't advance any further. And I think they mostly accomplished that. They got the primary goal. There was probably a hope for a secondary goal of, turning that key position into a win in the team fight, but I don't think they got quite there. So now this is going to end up being a pretty neutral game unless Len can start getting some picks again. And now this is going to be, once again, an opportunity for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya to get on the road with this tower and see if they can close in on where they had last left off.
And there are no checkpoints slowing them down this time, but what is slowing them down is Pepe again just going for these sharks, trying to stall that tower. Shiny got a pick on it earlier, and CMO does end up going down here, though. That gives Barbecue Pork Jambalaya another opportunity as Miner finds another pick, takes full control of this top left. Pepe is able to eventually trade out, but with Nightmare going down on the other side of the map, it's just up to Simo, who goes down to Len, does trade the Tower Rider, but we're already down to 8, looking for a little bit more. Shiny with that Snipe Rider forces Len back. but now Barbecue Pork Jambalaya, they have so much orange just past behind that tower. In Monsoon Season, they're not really able to easily contest here.
No, but I know Barbecue Pork Jambalaya wants to knock this out, but they need to go through that corridor of hell. Like, just straight up, like, that is going to be so difficult to get through with the pen, with the Explo, with the Tri-Slosher. They're not going to knock out this game, and I think they finally accepted that. They're backing up, going to try and hold mid to the best of their ability. The Slosher with the GG strikes at the ready, going to play this as safe as possible, and there it goes, spacing them out to ensure victory, and that will be game number 2 for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya.
Very dominant game the other way this time, instead of in favor of Monsoon Season, who eventually just got that KO with a couple of solid holds. Barbecue Pork Jambalaya didn't let Monsoon Season walk past that first checkpoint almost at all. Really, they had some fantastic defense combined with a lethal first push. That was really well done from them. Excellent picks. Miner just constantly walking left, getting 2, sometimes even 3 splats on that side of the map, just clearing out so much space. Really well executed from him.
Yeah, no, they did a really good job. You know, you could start to see that Monsoon Season was getting a little bit antsy. You know, as someone who is a teammate of Pepe's, you could tell when that starts to happen because Pepe starts taking riskier jumps. And we saw Pepe get punished 2 or 3 times there, you know, because he was so eager to get back to the front line and, you know, get back into the action, make sure that their back lines are taken care of. But, you know, that also kind of results in a little bit of an opportunity for the other team to snowball, especially when you're playing the likes of, you know, like LAN, Pika, and Miner. Like, those guys are going to punish you 9 out of 10 times. So there's one thing that Monsoon Season needs to watch out for. It's they just need to reel it in a little bit, you know, and I know that Shiny has done a really good job of, you know, trying to reel Pepe in those situations, and making sure that they're making the smart plays rather than the scrambled antsy plays.
Yeah, and so far it's been going okay, but you have to scramble sometimes on Rainmaker to get those extra points, especially on a map like Manta Maria. You can kind of just drop the Rainmaker down into one of those, you know, lower elevation areas, especially if you take the checkpoint where you jump up. You can drop that for an extra, you know, 30 or so points, and that's something you got to be aware of. That's that's a place where you got to have people fast on the rotate, like Shiny on that splatter shot, or Pepe on the splatter shot can be. There we go, we got it eventually.
And Pika making the big adjustment here in this game, going with the 96 gal, and you know exactly why. It is all about the ink back and how much real estate, how many points it can add up with leading the Rainmaker. But first of all, it is going to be Monsoon Season who strikes first and strikes hard. Checkpoint 1 taken in the first 30 seconds.
And already a couple of solid picks in their favor. The Inkback is popped fairly early as well, not going to be online for this defense, but the splatter color screen from CMO will be. And I mean, that gives a ton of space. Not really aware of where that Rainmaker is until eventually you get that reveal. There's a little bit of a bag from CMO knowing that he's dead, but he's able to run it all the way down to 22 points left for Monsoon Season. For Monsoon Season already. And that's a really, really good opening push, especially for the first minute.
It is, and it's going to result in Barbecue Pork Jambalaya spending the rest of this game trying to climb out of this hole. But 4 minutes is a lot of time to work with. So it is certainly not out of the realm of possibility, but they're going to have to find a couple of, you know, really big push opportunities, a couple of big team fights to go their way to get into the position to possibly flip this back. Because of course, as everyone likes to say, no lead is safe in Rainmaker, especially on Manta Maria.
Oh, and Pika finds 2 with the ink back to open things up. It's just Nightmare left, who is trying to just clear this checkpoint, but has to pop the splashdown eventually to prevent just immediately getting run down. That gives Barbecue Pork Jambalaya a chance to take that checkpoint. They get the subsequent pop as well, but Pepe on this left-hand side is trying to delay with the Sharks. Parachu's able to pick up the rain. There's the ink back, and there is very close. They're very close to that lead, just dangerously so. Parachu's able to drop just barely for it. Nightmare is able to find that pick. but just not in a safe position. The strikes there that to immediately go for that repop. Len almost KOs with the dunk, is eventually picked off, but with 3 players down on the side of Monsoon Season, Parachu eventually secures the KO for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya.
Exactly as we said. You know, it was a lot of time for them to work with, but they needed only a minute to be able to flip this one back around and force Monsoon Season to retreat to the bow of the ship. Oh man, wow, what a turnaround there from Barbecue Pork Jambalaya.
That is crazy. I mean, the InkVac, like you said earlier, it just enables so many crazy plays to be made, whether it is finding 2 picks with it, with the shot at the very beginning of that sequence onto, I believe, Shiny and Pepe, or just completely enabling Parachu to walk forward, score about 40 points, take the lead, and then get the repop with either the back shot or minor strikes right afterwards. InkVac is just so incredibly strong, especially on Rain, and Barbecue Pork Jambalaya were just able to execute beautifully on it.
Yeah, they did. It took a couple tries there because you saw Pika pop it once or twice before and just not finding any value with it. But of course, it only takes one good InkVac to send that Rainmaker all the way to the final pedestal, and they did find that value after all, and it paid big time.
Oh yeah, now we're going on to Clam Blitz on Scourge Gorge. This is where we're going to see the InkVac again. Pretty strong map for the special. As soon as you get onto the ramp, there's only one way to go, and that's to the basket. And when you have a little bit of cover, or a lot of bit of cover, 1400 about HP of it from the InkVac, that really opens you up to be able to score a lot of clams, win a fight that you otherwise might not be able to. And I really like sticking this for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised, but it makes a lot of sense to do just that. So, I mean, these teams knew exactly what they wanted to run. That's why we got to this game 4 so quickly, and these teams are already clashing in mid. Just an absolute scramble in the start of this game. And what?
Pika!
How did Pika live through that? My goodness!
Oh, there is no way! There's absolutely zero way Pika should have lived that, but they did anyways, and Barbecue Pork Jambalaya are able to make the first power clam, score it immediately. Miner does end up going down, but with a big bubbler from Len, it gives Barbecue Pork Jambalaya a window to extend the lead, already down to 68 points. Len also finding 2 just in the court of Monsoon Season. Nightmare's not able to find him, and there are even more clams being scored from Pika, who is, again, close to an InkVac.
Yeah, and if Pika could get this InkVac off, it is going to spell a lot of trouble here for Monsoon Season. And it looks like, though, 2 members are going to go down, so this Pika back is going to be more of a retreat mechanism, but not before we get 2 more little clams in the basket. And it seems like Barbecue Pork Jambalaya isn't ready to give up this basket yet. They're going to try and force this. No, finally going to get shut down. They really saw blood in the water and wanted to capitalize on that the best they could, and I think they did just that.
Absolutely. I mean, 80 points in the first minute and a half of the game. On any mode, you'll take that and run with it, but especially on Clam Blitz, where it can sometimes be so difficult to just keep those scoring opportunities going or just find them in the first place. That is an absolutely monumental lead for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. Monsoon Season, they have a long way to come back from this. The splatter color screen does give them a good amount of control of mid. I believe the player bottom left did end up jumping out. That was Miner, who is now supporting Len, but Simo's able to find that pick. There's still a blaster behind that does have to jump out. Simo finds a second onto Pika, and now it's just Len, the last line of defense so far for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya, but is able to clean things up with a big bubbler and with a massive double.
Wow. Len just holding down the defensive effort here, able to find 3. Might as well call it a quad because Nightmare said, I'm not going to go down. I'll take the easy way out.
Oh, absolutely. And now Barbecue Pork Jambalaya have another chance to get the scoring going. Already no penalty left on their side. No ink fact though, and a bunch of players down. It's just, I believe, Len, who is left back up on the respawn, is able to extend their lead just a little bit more, but only down to 15 points. And now Pepe has a good amount of space before Len finds another clean direct. Len has been hitting shots so far this set, DRF, and it is scary for Monsoon Season.
Oh, yeah, talk about it. As Led finds yet another pick. Led putting on an absolute clinic here in game number 4 with an opportunity of winners finals on the line here. If they can just live through these next 90 seconds, a date with Gravity in the sight lines for Barbecue Pork.
And they just need to hold off one, maybe 2 more pushes here. Simo does have the power clam, but that means that he is revealed for quite a while. Not able to make a lot of use out of the splatter color screen, but nobody from Barbecue Pork Jambalaya really wants to mess with that. Maybe give away a pick to start this scoring for Monsoon Season. Pepe has a very solid shark going. The splashdown from Nightmare is going to eventually fill up that vac and keep Nightmare safe with the splash while Pepe ends up going down, but it gives some space on the ramp for Monsoon Season. They're still not able to find any picks just yet. Nightmare does have a couple of clams, but Pepe ends up going down here on another very aggressive jump. But like you said, that means that Monsoon Season, they are a little bit flustered. They are in a tough spot, and Barbecue Pork Jambalaya, they're taking full advantage of it so far.
They are, because we saw 2 members of Monsoon Season jump out, and Shiny was left by themselves to have to hold down the defense. So that just was hey, let's just go. Let's walk right in the door for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. And with 15 seconds to play, it looks like Barbecue Pork Jambalaya isn't even going to give them a chance of overtime. They're going to put this one away right here, right now. H-Town Splashdown, taking out Sunset Surge, sending them on their way to losers bracket.
Wow. Incredible exclamation mark on this set for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya. They're able to just completely clean things out, blow Monsoon Season out of the water, if you will, and they're moving on to face Gravity. One of the strongest, probably the strongest team here, if we're being completely honest. It's going to be an uphill battle for anybody, but if anybody can, just has a chance at taking it, it's either of these 2 teams, and after that game, I feel like it's Barbecue Pork Jambalaya.
Well, I mean, Gravity did say that Barbecue Pork Jambalaya was the team that they were looking out for the most. So you're certainly right in that aspect, that this is going to be a really good matchup. Of course, Gravity #1 seed for a reason, but who knows? We already saw Gravity on the other side of the bracket. They did drop a game. Much to, I think, everybody's surprise, and much to Pop Gun's surprise. Yes, Super G took a game off of them in that winner's semifinal. So, not undefeated, not perfect. And I think that's all Barbecue Pork Jambalaya needs to hear.
That's all you need. If somebody can take a game, if you can make Gravity bleed, then if you can take a game, you can take a set. And that's exactly what Barbecue Pork Jambalaya are looking to do against Gravity in winners finals. But with that being said, I believe that is going to do it from us for now on this block. At least the 2 of us, DRF. It has been a pleasure commentating with you. It's been very fun to work with, and I cannot wait to see the rest of this shake out with I believe, is it Sasu and Rose up next?
I believe so. We'll get that confirmed. But yes, I could see them actually joining the waiting room here. But yes, thank you to everybody here for allowing us to be a part of this. Even if we couldn't necessarily be playing, that would have been cool. But hey, you know what? We are cool commentators. Like I think that this is just as good, if not better.
Oh, absolutely. We get to watch everything unfold from the comfort of our own homes as well. And I am so excited to see how the rest of this shakes out. We will see y'all with another one of these sets coming up very soon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the LAN Championship Showdown. The Pinklings are in the house. I'm Sasu here with Rose, and we're bringing to you, I think, losers semis is what's gonna be right in front of us. Monsoon season versus we aren't practicing, which I hope that's cap. I hope they're lying.
Yeah, we're gonna find out if they truly have not practiced, because I mean they're going up against Monsoon Season, representing Sunset Surge, as you can see over there on the left. A fantastic group of players here. Pepe has a mean V shot. Shiny is such a fantastic backline. I have seen Shiny play Pencil so well. And I feel like they've got a lot of stalling power behind them, combined with Pepe's ferocious Zukas. So it'll be interesting. We Aren't Practicing, though, has also some very strong players. I'm going to be very excited. I mean, I hope we get to see some of that slosher action coming out from Bran or Riki, because it's such a fantastic weapon. And I'm just so excited. Sea Battle, of course, coming from Seattle, Washington. So we're looking at some West Coasters here for this round.
Yes, us East Coasters, we're going to see the Battle of the West as they fight to make it back to grand finals. I think we just saw the Sunset Surge players Monsoon Season drop down into losers via that last match when they lost up against Houston, if anything, both of them being a little bit on the southern border there. So you see up there, we'll get there when we get there, winners finals. With H-Town Splashdown, that being BBQ Pork Jambalaya. It's been so tough seeing that name when I've been watching the coverage, making me kind of hungry, up against our home LAN of Big Dapple, Gravity, waiting to do that, but not before we get done with the set, and that is going to be so exciting. Honestly,
yes.
Seeing all of that gameplay, these are such strong players, and I'm sure it's going to be a great set.
I'm really excited. I know I'm excited about watching Shiny because I mean I've been a Whip Rays fan for a while, and of course many my friends, having scrimmed against my friends over on the Stingrays, who have now decided to join the Whip Rays as an actual full Whip Rays roster instead of a spinoff, and Shiny is a coach for the Whip Race. It's always very exciting to see. I love Triggerfish Zone Supremacy, and Pepe is the captain of that team. So two players I really love watching. They're also just fun personalities themselves. And I feel like some people here probably also have heard of the team Saturday Night Speedle, more on the lower competitive side. Kronos, who's playing over on our We Aren't Practicing team representing Sea Battle. Kronos is their coach, so that's also fun to see. I always find it really fun to see, I'm like, oh, I know some of these teams, and then I'm like, oh, that person coaches that team that I know. Oh, fun.
Plus, it's just kind of fun thinking about the whole LAN of it all. You do see certain people that don't necessarily play with each other online kind of join forces because they live closer to each other, and you get these kind of these Avengers matchups that you don't necessarily get to see every day. Because though we know Pepe and Shiny used to be together on a team, I feel like you see them come together for Sunset Surge, and that's a lot of fun when you don't necessarily see that in, say, like an NA League or any other online tournament necessarily. So really great to see those two on the same team. And in the theme of LANs, I remember LTC was one of the big convention center LANs, one of the first ones I'd ever been to. And I remember I met Pepe and Shiny in person, and I was like, hey, I know who these players are. And they were so sweet and very cool. So that's kind of some LAN experience there of getting to just meet people in person, see these team ups. And I think it's just going to be some great play. And also, Nightmare being on that team, I know that for the Global Gauntlet qualifier, Nightmare was at Sunset Surge, playing both an online tourney as well as that in-person LAN. So the fact that Nightmare was able to do that and then qualify for LAN Championship Showdowns with their team, nuts. That's how you know how strong these players are.
That's nuts. And here I was at like the last Big Dapple joking. I was like, oh yeah, I'll commentate low ink while I Big Dapple.
While I Nightmare could have done it. Nightmare would have been like, bet, I'll figure it out, you know? So,
there's two of me, actually.
Listen, it's like if I've got the time, you know, if you do well enough, you got to get that 3-0 just to make sure like you can go play with the other team. So it's all about time management. If you're not able to play 2 tourneys at once, really, what are you doing with your time?
Skill issue, really.
Truly. But yes, honestly, it has been so fun watching people have sort of this pride from what part of the country, or rather the continent they're from. Toronto Roca, also a participant in this tourney as well. So you have people showing up from all over. Here's the map there for you. Toronto Roca, Ontario, in Canada, as well as a lot of East Coast. Some southern in North Carolina, kind of there, Gatorland, H-Town, Splashdown, and then the West. So everyone in the chat kind of repping for the place that's closest to them, their homeland. Not homeland, but homeland has certainly been fun to see. But we also have these stages and the modes here for you, and we will be starting off with ship shape zones.
Yeah, ship shape zones. Everybody here has played it. Everybody here is playing it. The map list are things that teams from... It was various representatives from each LAN making sure that, okay, this is the map who everybody's going to play at the qualifier. So, like, everybody's played these, even, like, with their own team for that LAN. Queuing in right now... Riki is the one on the slosher that I called out. We've got an interesting comp with the Explo over on Monsoon Season with the pencil.
Yes, and I think that's going to be really effective here. They're essentially running 2 sloshers, and aside from the fact that it's going to be a little bit difficult to displace that Explo, they also have that wall that can just go through the entirety of that mid. But right off the top, it is going to be Sea Battle that is taking this. We aren't practicing. And they've held on to the zone thus far, but it seems like Monsoon Season, they've positioned themselves where they can take that back.
Yeah, got points on the board for both teams here, but it is going back and forth. One member down on each side. Pepe still alive, managing to find Kronos from behind, saying that brother will not protect you when I am behind you. And now Pepe in a great spot to hold aggressively here. I want to call out, in addition, of course, Pepe's Zuka, which might find a target there. Yeah, there we go. Getting that nice final shot off the Explo. Also has their splashdown ready. Could absolutely stall out a retake if anybody is able to jump on them, not take them out before they approach. Knight is right there, gonna use it, even gets a pick off of it, and they've cornered another person, managing to pick them off as well. But I do believe that Tent managed to get in, but not able to survive enough. And that timer is ticking down.
Yeah, I was just thinking that there was only so much time left, and I think that We Aren't Practicing noticed it and acted accordingly. Now, ultimately, Monsoon Season takes it back from their clutches, but with a pretty hefty 60-point penalty. So Pepe in this 1v1 gonna take the Tent out. I think that's going to be really important for them because Tent is really strong here and is just duking on that bottom right. That opens it up for Bauer Brand there to just get that pick, no problem. And Shiny in this very aggressive spot, making it difficult for anyone to walk forward. So really, despite the fact that they're able to move forward and stop that knockout from happening, time is ticking once again, and there's not that much time for them to get to zone.
That Booyah coming on in is going to take out Shiny, but Shiny is the only one down so far for Monsoon Season. I take that back. 2 people have gone down, but they don't have time for We Aren't Practicing to paint that zone. You saw it was like half and a half, but not enough.
Yes, just too many of their teammates went down at the end there, and I think that Monsoon Season did a great job of just holding steady, making sure that their defenses didn't crumble too much there, and I think we just saw some really great teamwork out of Monsoon Season, and that's what made it so that they were never so much on the back foot like we maybe saw out of We Aren't Practicing.
Yeah. That is true. I remember when I was looking at those weapons that they play earlier, I thought, oh, okay, they're going to have a really... If they can set up and control areas, control positions, it's going to be really hard to move them. Like, you know, granted, sometimes like, oh, like, the V-Shot in Pepe's hands is really the only super aggressive, like, frontlining weapon they have. It's like, well, yeah, but then you have all these other weapons that are controlling space from farther away, and then you also have, you know, that Tri-Slosher with the bomb can be super ferocious.
Yes, but this is going to be particularly... Actually, I saw Riki go down right off the top, and I was like, that's... What's... Players like these, like, that's not gonna really normally happen, so I was like, something must be up, and you do see that game end, so they'll probably figure what that is. Maybe they already said it in BC, so just for camp reasons. They sort of jumped off right off the top to punctuate the fact that they were going to restart anyways. But what I'm really interested in here is that us being at Museum, Monsoon Season is my desire for zones only. They accidentally put it on zones. Listen, these are some strong, like, higher level players, and a lot of them, they're jonesing for the zones. But this is LAN Championship Showdown. We are playing all modes. There's nowhere to hide. I know some of the people, I hate Rainmaker, I hate Clams. We don't care. You're gonna have to play it if you want to be the champions.
Yeah, you have to play them. You know what? I like watching Rainmaker, so you're gonna play it.
So you're gonna play it for me so I can watch it.
Entertain us.
Yeah, you're here just for me to be entertained. But you know, I don't know if they just kind of readied up easily or if they're going to change their comp. But I saw sort of the double backline comp and how that worked out last time. But I feel like it's going to be Museum Clams. If they run that double backline, usually you have that pen or whatever backline you have on that center spinner. Like, what's sort of going to be the game plan in terms of your push when you have these 2 people that can't really be run up on, or just somebody switch off?
Yeah, that's true. I suppose if sticking with that Explo, does that Explo have the sticker on it? It does. That is still custom Explo with the splashdown. So at least that is a threatening thing. If you're running up, you're just like, I have splashdown. Like, you better watch out. So there's that to help out. We've got a Dynamo now over on We Aren't Practicing to pair with the pencils. That Dynamo can play not necessarily as an anchor and play a little bit more aggressively. Always really, really fun to see if they can pop up. But right now, We Aren't Practicing did go down several people in a row. That is going to force Brand to get the heck out of dodge, give up a ton of space over to Monsoon Season. They are already making that power climb, going to throw it in, die in the process. That is a lot of specials coming out. There's the splashdown. Didn't get anybody, but managing to stay alive. That is going to just be a 1 power climb and done push, though.
Yes, Nightmare gets out of dodge, and I would have too if my camera was doing that. That was a lot. Couldn't even really see what was going on, and I think Bauer Brand here just going to clean up the rest of the stragglers in their plat. But all the while, the Dynamo does get kind of caught there. Riki won, and thinking maybe they made it out of there, but they do not. Kronos, however, trading out the backline that took care of their own teammates. So finally, they have a ball. They scored themselves, but we'll see if they have some follow-up to break past that lead. They do not. So both of these teams just going to be sitting on a pity from the opposing team due to that lack of follow-up.
Yep, we are not at, as even as we were when it was 100 to 100 because of the tiebreakers. So technically we have a lead, but effectively we don't. Effectively, it is still, we're back to who knows what's going to happen. This game has been very, very aggressive. People going down a lot of the time, which I think on both sides, which means it's actually been very difficult for both teams to push forward. Seems like they go in, again, we get a power clam in, but do we have any follow-up? We've got the Tri-Slash that has several clams in hand that Pepe Zuka's forcing Kronos to step away here. They are able to throw in several, getting down to 55. Doesn't look like they're going to get in more than that. I think, Nightmare's right. Like, I need to not push in more than this. And is unfortunately gonna get taken out there. Did not step away in time. But look at that. How Riki died there at the end despite getting their own splat.
Yes, and Pepe just taking advantage of that to kind of get out of mid, put down a little bit more orange, things looking super blue in that mid, and create a ball to toss off to Shiny so that they can set up that run. But right now it seems, honestly, like we are not practicing. Have just a really good hold. Those tri-strikes come out to display a few people. Two of their members go down though. Pepe just scoops up those clams, is really close to a ball. Does get the ball and doesn't get the jump, however. So does retreat to that mid to kind of hang out with Shiny on that center spitter, but all the while, Nightmare on that right, putting out those sloshes and a lot of that chip. And I think right now, Monsoon Season just trying to figure out how to break into mid and maybe not doing so successfully. They had such a clam economy and it's lost in the blink of an eye.
It is. They're trying to build this up going forward now, but oh my gosh, they have been chewing their way through, but getting some picks there. This does look like it's starting to open up for them. Except Simo's going, no, I'm going to take you out here. If they can get out Nerd, they do. They're going to go down several in the process, though, so it's going to be up to Pepe to hold this area. A couple points scored, down to 71 for We Aren't Practicing. And managing to get Pepe out there, I think, is really, really important. As long as they can hold on to mid, they have a chance to take out the lead here. Riki close to a powered clam here. The only other person with clams is the Pencil right now, but there are plenty of places to get clams. However, that's not going to help a whole lot if people holding the clams are going down. That hurts your clam economy a lot.
Yeah, I was just thinking Riki really needs to stay up there, but they ultimately went down to Nightmare's splashdown, I believe. And especially a lot of these people who are going down have their specials. Riki was denied those tri-strikes and that splashdown, not going to be able to get used either. So we have 30 seconds left. I think that ultimately Monsoon Season is really hoping to be able to push forward and widen that gap because they know they're not safe. And Pepe locks in, gets that one pick, but then ends up in a 2v1 and ultimately goes down. Half of the members of We Aren't Practicing are not up at the moment, and with this wall, Nerdy is boxed out a little bit, so they're trying to get forward so that they can force people off of the enemy plat. And right now, I think the clam economy looking really strong for We Aren't Practicing. So if they're able to make it there, and with the tri-strikes, it's looking like it's going to be probable, they may be able to take this lead in OT. But they painted the floor and didn't allow that to go in. That does open it, but there's no follow-up. Riki trying to follow up. They throw it.
No! Rose. Oh, gosh. Stopped right there. Oh, skipped arm day. Needed to throw it just a little bit farther.
Golly, an unfortunate whiff. I always say, you played with me, Rose. People go, oh, unfort. And usually I'm like, no, it's not unfort. There's something we could have done better. That is the very definition of unfort, being a little tiny bit too far away where you just whiff that ball, because really I think that would have been enough to secure them the lead and the first game here. So, second game rather.
Yeah.
Super unfortunate. Riki, gotta give it up there though. Really valiant effort.
Yeah, grabbing that power clam just before it despawned, managing to swim up that box and do the squid roll, jump off of it to get back onto the plat, but just needed to get a little bit closer before they could throw it in, but it was getting shot at, had to throw it in that, otherwise it wasn't going to get thrown in at all. If it had been one of the small clams, it would have made it in. It would have been able to travel far enough. Not that would have gotten the lead, but it would have been enough to at
They
least
would have
like
lost it another way, I
it
fear.
would have gone into the basket at least. But this power clams, oh, there's just a little too heavy.
Yep, but monsoon season, being able to defend their basket, they've put themselves at set point here, up 2-0 over We Aren't Practicing, despite really having to work for it. We're gonna be going to Hagglefish Tower. Now, this can be a really snowbally sort of place, and I think given that monsoon season had so much control in that zones game, We Aren't Practicing are going to have to make sure that they control the situation and that they have a level of aggression that doesn't allow monsoon season to really dictate the pace of things, I'd argue.
That is going to be important. We have really not very fast weapons on the side of Sea Battle. Sunset Surge, has 2 shooters to be decently fast. So I think that'll be interesting going up against the Tent and Dynamo combo, which, all of a sudden one of them is already down here. Kronos, I don't know how they managed to survive. Now they're just like hiding with the shield tent. Really great job managing to live through that, not bleeding too much. They are out of position at this point, getting shot at, but Tent does what Tent does best, and it's just like, I'm gonna stay alive. I'm gonna stay alive, and if you get into my face, you're gonna get a shotgun to the face.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we saw. I think Shiny just tried to reposition, but not seeing that Zuka coming, and the last person wants nothing to do with that, so they jump out, and I think Kronos earns their team the right to push here, so Riki just going to get on top of that, take the passive special charge on the tower to get their tri-strikes and allow them to push past what is a pretty pivotal once they get to that second checkpoint moment. But in the meantime, monsoon season has popped quite a lot of specials to just control the situation. It was getting a little bit out of hand, and I think that's what allows them to stop this push here.
That Tent shield could not take that many shots from multiple people all at the same time. It vanished right before Kronos' eyes. This has now opened things up. Shiny holding some very, very good ground to open up some space for the rest of the team on monsoon season. Also, Nightmare making sure, I think popped that special just to make sure they were going to stay alive here. We've had, Arizona has just popped a ton of specials right now. They no longer have any specials online. They're a little bit lacking resources, but I mean, you look over at Sea Battle, they also, they've been dying without having cooler active. So like, they've just been losing special while dying. The resources are still firmly between the two of them in monsoon season's hand. Arizona pushing forward. Nightmare just going like, no, your bats are mine at this point. And even though, they lost a player, look, they don't have much more to hold. They're through the 3rd checkpoint. Nearly. They just need to have somebody on there for a teeny bit longer to close out this set. But that tower is going to start going backwards, but not for lack of trying.
Yes, and we have that trade on the top left. Shiny trying to make sure that that tower doesn't go too far. As much as monsoon season used all of their specials, once you break past that second checkpoint, it's so difficult to stop that train from running. And you see it ran all the way down to 3, and they still had someone on their own tent. So that being the top left. So a lot of aggression coming out of monsoon season. Shiny backing up from that Zuka, also supplying jumps for their team, but then they recognize it's just them. They have to put that cooler down a little farther back so that their teammates spawning in will be able to get it. And they're just going to have to restart. Now, We Aren't Practicing are heading towards their first checkpoint when we just have under 2 minutes left. So they have an uphill battle, but certainly not impossible.
Yeah, uphill, but, not entirely impossible. Simo managing to hold this down. I love the teamwork. We mentioned it earlier when you have people taking those team fights together. We had that Crab trying to shred that tent shield. Nightmare going in with the triple splashdown ready, managing to also just push out the tent and go, no. Because I feel like we've seen Kronos has been doing so well here, managing to get that pick on there. This is now opening a lot of space for Riki to move up. I think that they really do want to ensure that Riki is supported and able to get the picks needed. So Kronos really wanting to go up there and play off of it. Sometimes I've been seeing just a little bit too much of almost more like individual playmaking, and I think we need more than that against Monsoon Season. We've been seeing them play together as a team so well so far.
Yeah, especially because they're double backlined. Sometimes it's harder than just saying, oh, the backline's going to be here. Here's where we aim for. But Kronos gets a really critical pick there on Nightmare on that Explo. And all the while, those triple ink strikes come out to try and help them pass this checkpoint. And Nerd gotta go down. Really needed to stay up for that. And we are just 17 seconds in. So Bauer Brand trying to hold that space for their team to jump in. Riki right off the top, going to try and lead to get out of there. Goes down as well. Kronos is still there, but is just collapsed upon. Nerdy is just diving for that tower, but ultimately up against Pepe's shot, it's gonna be too slow. And Monsoon Season taking this third game, sweeps the set and takes it for themselves.
They let it rain on down like a true monsoon. Did not let up that aggression, managing to clinch that in a 3-0. So they will be moving forward. Sea Battle now. Sea Battle gets its fair share of rain.
True. They are used to the rain, so perhaps kind of feeling a little bit like home, but ultimately with Monsoon Season going forward, Sea Battle being out of the LAN Championship Showdowns, they're going to have to pass off sort of their energy as a fellow West Coast team off to Monsoon Season and sort of hope for that. So it is going to be the winner of Gatorland versus Booyah, who moves forward to sort of match them there. But in the meantime, winners finals, they've been waiting, and it is finally time. Gravity versus BBQ Pork Jambalaya, H-Town Splashdown versus Big Dapple. This is gonna be a good one.
I've been so excited. When I was looking at the teams, I was sort of like thinking to myself, okay, who do I think are we going to end up seeing in winners finals? And these were exactly the two teams that I expected. I thought, okay, Gravity from Big Apple, I think they're an extremely strong contender for winners finals. And I was like, okay. And I also think our H-Town Splashdown winners, BBQ Pork Jambalaya, I think they're going to make it there as well. So I'm happy that I predicted that correctly. And we got, of course, Sasu and I got to see Gravity firsthand when we got to commentate them over at Big Dapple, where, of course, they won pretty strong there. They were pretty uncontested at Big Dapple. I never had to play against them. Did you end up playing against them, Sasu?
Nope. None of my business. Yeah. So I got out right before we got to those grand finals. But yes, Gravity, well-known players, sort of a Venn diagram of Milky Way. Sort of, I guess, like, for the most part, most of these players now are on Milky Way, but it's like I like to think of it as a Milky Way starburst sort of Venn diagram that's going on here for those players, and also some extremely strong players coming out of BBQ Pork Jambalaya as well. You guys saw them, especially if you've been keeping up with everything. Len in particular has been on such a tear. Pika also a super strong player that a lot of these players are regulars of NA League that you will often see in that playoff section. So, you know how you said, I thought it might be these two in winners finals. I think they also suspected that that was the case because they both listed each other as the team to look out for. So I think they knew that this was in the cards, and they've prepped accordingly. I myself, listen, we're both Big Dapple casters. That's our local. I even, it was the Golden Gala for Big Dapple. That's why I have a dress on as like a sort of salute to the fact that things were sort of formal there, the 10th Big Dapple for us. But, you know, I am not going to be biased. I'm just excited to see some great Splatoon here in the winners finals.
Yes, I love several of the players over on BBQ Pork Jambalaya. I'm a huge fan of Pika. Getting to play with Pika in the Raise for Rices tournament back in December was like, Pika was my first pick. I was like, I picked Pika. I want to play with Pika. Pika is a delight, absolutely delightful person, super fun to watch, super fun to play with. Len, so strong. Len is such a strong player. Oh my gosh. I don't know Miner as well personally, but I know Miner and Pika have plenty of experience playing together. And I've also seen Parachu play, and also very, very strong. I believe Parachu is going to be their backline here, but I've typically seen Parachu on mid lines. Pika's also very much a flex, so I'm like, I don't know what Pika's going to play. Pika was just like, I'm going to play this today, I'm going to play that day. Who knows?
And that's why Pika didn't list anything. It was just like, I'm going to do what we need. Para is going to be on that back line in the pen. Len, my fellow Healbook member, going to be on a blaster, no doubt, as Blast listed, but I can almost promise you it will be the V-Blast, unless there is something in particular they're sort of anticipating from Gravity. And I think overall, all of these players in one way or another have played against the Gravity members. So I think that a little bit interesting because perhaps not in this specific lineup, but they know what to expect. Zero, who probably is the most regular for Big Dapple from this region. Probably going to be on like a Forge, a Gal, some sort of shooter like that. Q, very famous for her pen. She plays pen practically like a leader with how aggressive she is. And like you said, we saw that.
Oh my gosh, she hits those shots.
Yeah, you would have thought it was a one-shot weapon. The way people just get tapped down immediately. So I think both of these teams in one way or another have their work cut out for them. I think Len, if you let Len just kind of run loose, can just get triples, doubles like nothing. But of course, there's a reason why practically every team listed Gravity as the team to watch out for. These are top players, well-known ones at that, and they've been well-known since Splatoon 2.
Yes.
So they're not to be trifled with, and I feel like they've been the talk of the town accordingly.
Yes, I think they're the top seed for a reason. They've had international experience. They've been at the top nationally. I think there's a good reason why every team was like, I think Gravity is going to be really hard to beat. I mean, even BBQ Pork Jambalaya was like, yeah, they're going to be tough opponents. So we'll have to see if they are ready to be the winners of this barbecue against our Big Dapple winners. And of course, we do have the pencil on both sides here. Pika, I love Pika's mini, so I'm really excited to see Pika on the Zinc mini here. It's going to be very, very fun. Great paint output, able to do some pretty aggressive bubbles. They're actually running double bubble.
Double bubble.
Len also has the bubble on the blaster.
Double the bubble, double the trouble. BBQ Pork Jambalaya are trying to probably go for a defensive game, make life a little bit harder for Q here, who you see on that off angle, who's going to have a little bit of trouble getting through those bubbles, but the bubbles are bursted, and Zero going to take that jump as well. Interestingly enough, on the duelist, you don't really see Zero on Dooley all this often, so they're going to shred that bubble. I think that NYC gonna have their hands a little bit full, constantly shredding through those, but all the while, they've taken the lead here.
They have. It's actually going pretty back and forth now. We're 1 minute in, and the map has not changed yet. We have not hit the amount of points need to be scored in order for the map to start going down and opening up for people. Miner managing to get some really good picks here, getting 2 members down on Gravity at this point, which means Parachute can play forward a little bit. It's gonna have to make sure not to go up too much, especially losing Len and Pika, and we've also lost Miner. At this point, fully needs to back up and give that space, but Len saying, no, I'm gonna be aggressive. Is managing to get a pick there at that point, but still, I mean, a minute and a half passed on Mahi zones, only now just reaching 60 is wild to me.
Yeah, but that 60 is going to open up things for both of these teams with that water level dropping and Brand just ledging here, making it super difficult for anyone to figure out where to stand, much less to drop. So a trade happens there. That's massive for Parachute, who can now go onto those grates and everyone can enter through the right. A trade happens there with Zero and Pika just holding on to that space, but gonna be striked out. Ultimately, the counter strikes come out. They stop that push down at 26, incur a 50-point penalty. And it seems as though Gravity have started to kind of find their bearings and really make it difficult for BBQ Pork Jambalaya.
Yeah, man, they gotten down all the way down to 26. Pork Jambalaya managing to cap that when they did was important just to buy themselves a little bit of time to apply some penalty points, but it's been so hard for them ever since getting stopped at 65 to go for a proper hold. It seems like they've been managing to get people in, but they haven't been able to hold the space for very, very long. People sort of going down one by one at this point. Len trying to get back in, but oh my gosh, you know, Ice not even playing a weapon that holds ledges super well. It's just been great at playing the spacing properly. We're in single digits. Gravity only having to hold this for a little bit longer with a wipeout. That is going to be the game straight to them. They are taking the first game out of this set in winter finals.
Yes, I think that BBQ Pork Jambalaya clearly at a certain point had a little bit of struggle with retake, and perhaps, I mean, that's the downside of running something like Double Bubble, is that when it's time to move your way back in, you know, you have only so many resources to do so, because it relies on the fact that you're able to take that zone, and that's what's going to allow you to keep it as well. So perhaps a little bit of a walk back to the drawing board to figure out what it is about the comp or maybe the gameplay that had it slip through their fingers at the end there, because it felt very back and forth for quite a bit, and I think at a certain point everything looked so blue. Gravity was able to completely paint them out, and especially considering that Len is not on a painting weapon, and every member of Gravity is sort of running a comp. Actually, now that I'm thinking about, perhaps that's why, because Gravity Zero, I was confused seeing Zero on those dualies. They're running a Milky Way comp is what's happening here.
Oh, that is a good point. Yeah, because we're used to seeing Zero typically on the splatter shot, is what I've mostly seen. Maybe sometimes 52 gal, but pretty much always a front line. But I haven't seen dualies as much in person at the Big Apple games with Zero.
And I think that BBQ Pork Jambalaya having Len there, who is a great front line, but needs to some extent paint, or at least cannot paint himself. No one on Gravity needs paint. They all themselves are pretty self-sufficient, but we're going to Rainmaker Humpback. I'm personally very pumped to see this. No doubt we're going to be seeing some
I knew Pika was gonna pull out that 96 gal. I was like, oh, we're gonna see the 96 gal with the ink vac, and yeah, there it is. Ink vac coming out for Rainmaker pretty frequently, and Pika has a lot of experience on 96 gal. That is what they played most of the time when I was on a team with them for that charity tournament, and oh my gosh, the picks that they can get on that was nuts. But it does mean that they're not going to have a ton of paint on this.
Yes, that's very true. And that back is getting counterbacked, and I think they perhaps had gone down as well. So Zero going to grab, get out of that, and I think that now Gravity is trying to make a pass at the check. Len is waiting there. 2 of their teammates are down, and ultimately I think Ice just able to chip them out with the Rainmaker, so they get a pretty easy check with very little sort of fight back, and I think Zero is hoping to find some picks to make it a little bit easier for their own team to just run that. And in the meantime, I think while they were distracted with Zero, they were able to just run straight under their noses and get that knockout like nothing. I'm not even sure if that was a full minute.
That was a quick game. Zero really didn't get a pick for a while there, but playing those dualies, managing to be like, look at me, ha 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 ha, tee hee, look at me, because I'm threatening you a lot. You can't move forward. You can't come in and take the space. Really just opened things up for that Rainmaker to be just directly delivered to that goal.
Signed, sealed, and delivered with, I think, unfortunately, very little pushback. Once again, there was a bit of a stagger from BBQ Pork Jambalaya there. They obviously changed things up a little bit. You mentioned that they'd have little paint. Perhaps that was part of the issue, but generally speaking, Gravity just had really great pacing, and I think that worked out for them. We're going to Barnacle and Dime Clams. I feel like this is a little, as much as it's Barnacle and Dime and people think lockout, it is Clams, so there's a lot of a scurry all over the place to try and get your clam economy. But I think ultimately, we're going to see if this change to the Forge or Gravity changes anything, or if going back to this double bubble comp is going to be what wins them the game.
Yeah, I am interested why they're specifically running the double bubble as opposed to the 2 other kits that Mini has. One of those being with the Ultra Stamp and the other one being Zuka. But it does, it holds space pretty well. They do have a great defense, but as we saw, it made the retake definitely difficult if they don't already have a strong position to hold on to. Great resources for holding space, sometimes a little difficult to take space with what they have, but so far, a pretty strong opening from them. They've got that power clam ready. I like that they're not running it in immediately. They're making sure that Miner has a little bit of space to throw those strikes in. They are going to lose Pika, though, on that Mini, and Parachute also, unfortunately, going to go down. Miner somehow managing to stay alive just long enough to help get the pick onto one member of Gravity, but so far, no points scored, 1 minute in, and the tide has shifted back over to Gravity. New York City has a ton of space, even though they've lost 2 people. I don't know, you see Q with, sights trained, and I'm like, they might be down too, but I feel like Q's holding such strong positions. It's hard for Barbecue Pork Jambalaya to get back in.
Listen, I could be wrong, but I feel like that bubble may have something to do with Q. I feel like you don't want to just be chipped. She is such a good shot that they don't want to just go down, and Ice is holding on to this Booyah to get the sort of maximum usage out of it. Ultimately goes down. They've gotten down to 41. That is way past the 60-point mark that you typically want to in one push. Pika just being harassed by this crab, but I think ultimately everyone being up and able to sort of collapse on Zero has made it such that they go down and they've gotten mid. Now, last time they caught mid with this much confidence, they lost it pretty quickly, and I think a lot of the same is happening once again.
It's been hard for them to really hold space for very, very long against Gravity. I think even we saw in the first game on Mahi's zones, which was pretty back and forth for the first few minutes, they still had a hard time holding for very, very long. We're seeing the it's hard to move in at this point. That bubble, of course, did protect them from Q for a little bit here. Of course, this allowed LAN to move up forward to put even a little bit more of an aggressive bubble to help others go in. But otherwise, they've got 2 bubbles. They've got the strikes from their slosher, and then otherwise they've just got Cooler, which is not really necessarily for a retake, but great for extending things, getting those really quick repositions. And it's so difficult for them to get back in. You mentioned Zero has been on a tear tonight.
Yes, I think that just the way that Gravity is, with the fact that nobody needs paint, with the fact that they have all of these aggressive specials, it puts them in this really great position, and Q ends off the game just dodging and weaving, throwing those in, and pretty gracefully puts this winner's final at a 3-0 there. Certainly not what BBQ Pork Jambalaya was hoping for. This is going to send them down to losers, but Gravity certainly in fantastic shape, finishing off that game in style.
Yeah, Gravity has so far only dropped a single game tonight, dropping that in the winners bracket semis against Super G. That is the singular game that they have dropped tonight so far, and they have at minimum 1 more set to play, potentially 2 more sets if there is a grand finals reset. It'll be interesting to see who manages to emerge from losers finals. Barbecue Pork Jambalaya has a chance to get back in. They're going to have to see whether they go up against Monsoon Season or Super G.
Yeah, I think ultimately, when you think of it, that's why Popgun made that infamous Blue Sky tweet about no one's gonna take off a game off Gravity, and quite frankly, I'm not gonna lie, maybe it's because I'm a big Dapple sort of local myself. I didn't think that anyone would take a game off Gravity either. So Super G, they're going to want to go up against H-Town Splashdown. We're going to see if how that ends up going with who is gonna, I guess, have that rematch, because I think these are the 2 teams that people were most set up to think maybe this is a team that can take games, maybe they can even go all the way, but they're gonna have to duke it out in those losers finals.
They are, and I do think also Monsoon Season, I think Monsoon Season has a chance to beat Barbecue Pork Jambalaya if they manage to emerge from the semis in losers bracket. But Super G managed to get a game off of Gravity, and they got sent down to losers by Gravity. So I don't know, maybe I think either of those 2 teams have a chance of making it back at this point. Of course, we are not seeing that on our side, and I think this is also the end of our really just not even me and Sauce, but I think this is it for SplatoonTourney 1 tonight.
And I hope everybody put your remembrance in the chat. We had SplatoonTourney 1 up just for this monumentous occasion. But I think
back.
after that, like a sleeping bear, back to hibernation for that. But I think most of the rest of the games are going to be moved over to SplatoonTourney. I know a lot of people have all the tabs open. So be sure to tab there. You can close the rest of your tabs that are done, including this one, but not before Rose gives us her plugs. So Rose, what's going on with you? Give me
I
your
should have
plugs.
had some loose plugs here, just to be like, oh, you mean these? Oh yeah, I can just pull these out. You can find me over on my Twitch channel. You can also find me over on YouTube, Blue Sky, Instagram, wherever I'm at. You can find me as Rose of Battle. How about you, Sasu?
You can find me at Sasu in Your Pants, SASUIN, the letters U are pants, on various Splat World series. casts. And also, if you are in the New York City area, be sure to go to Little Dapple, which will be in Queens and sort of a social event. But in the meantime, the entirety of the southern U.S. border is going to be fighting it out to go up against Gravity in the Northeast. So be sure you go over to SplatoonTourney, and we will see you later.